Tucker Carlson is hosting this sit-down forum with the presidential candidates on the Republican side, except for Donald Trump. And the internet is exploding, says the post-millennial, because Mike Pence has apparently committed political suicide by saying that's not my concern when asked about U.S. cities in reference to wanting to fund Ukraine. Now, some are arguing he didn't really mean that. It's being taken out of context. But the general idea is that Mike Pence is talking about how we got to fund and support Ukraine. Tucker says, what about American cities? And then Mike Pence said, unfortunately, whether he meant it or not, that's not my concern. He does go on to say we want to fix up our borders and make America better and things like that. But this is interesting. This is the new way we are having these political discussions. It's not so much the old school style debate. So we'll talk about that. Now, because of this, we're seeing a major swing in prediction markets with Vivek Ramaswamy skyrocketing. And my favorite line yet, the media saying Donald Trump's campaign pitch is vote for me so we can get revenge on the government. And everyone's like, OK, that sounds pretty good. So we'll talk about that. We got a bunch of other stories, too. We got Snow White and the 7 politically correct companions. We'll probably want to talk about those issues. But before we do, my friends, we got a shout out for summit-forgery.myshopify.com. You can find the link in the description below. Summit Forgery paints quality miniatures. You can check them out. These are really, really cool. And Summit Forgery is a Timcast member. So we are shouting out members of Timcast every Friday. This is our latest one. Check the link in the description below. Again, it's summit-forgery.myshopify.com. And if you're interested in these figurines, they look really, really cool. Maybe we'll pick some up. But you can support their work. Thank you for being a member. And we're going to be shouting out more members and their work. Hopefully, this is the kind of stuff we can do that will help boost our cultural endeavors. And Summit Forgery, you guys sell a bunch of these and are able to expand and do a lot more. I hope you guys support each other as well. We got a lot of good work to do, and I do have some updates for you in just a second. But also, don't forget to go to timcast.com, become a member to support our work directly by clicking Join Us, and you can watch our members-only uncensored segments and even call into the show to talk to our guests. And that's Monday through Thursday. And I will say, additionally, just a major shout-out. Last night, I wish, before the show started, we had the idea to pledge all Super Chat revenue to the Spear Foundation. That this is a Spear Fund, Tim Ballard's organization, to try and fund more of the work that he's famous for, which is saving these children. But only at the very last minute did I even think to offer it. Someone super chatted us saying, you should give the super chat money to Tim Ballard. And I said, yes, absolutely, we'll do that. And then I realized, well, hold on. Asking you guys to give me money so that I can give it to him? No, I'll match it. And I did. We ended up in only about 5 or 10 minutes raising $24,000 in super chats, for which 15 minutes later, I wrote a check to Tim Ballard's organization for the sum total of $50,000. Additionally, I pledged $11,500 to the Pay It Forward for Sound of Freedom. And the main reason is the reason we do this is not about it's not entirely just about revenue. Of course, we're capitalists. We like making money. We like running our business and being successful. But it's also about being responsible with the power bestowed upon us by all of you as members. And it is an honor and a privilege to see the response from so many of you saying that this is what your membership is for, that we consistently do the right thing with the money that you guys give as members. And that means a lot. I hope we can continue to do more of that. The overwhelming majority of the money that we make in this company is reinvested back into cultural projects, working on new things, and doing things like this, shouting out our members and their projects. We large contributions to people who are doing the right thing, and hopefully more people who are working on cultural endeavors. We want to be sending you guys checks once a month. We're trying to figure out the legal path to doing it properly. We have given out a decent sum in the 5 figures in the past few months to various individuals who are working on cultural issues. I would say a good portion of it is protecting children. That's been a big issue for us. And for the most part, you just don't hear it because some of these individuals want it to be private. They don't say, hey, please shout out the fact that you gave us money. They just want to keep doing the work we're doing. But I just want you guys to know that it really means a lot to me that we can sort of be a vehicle for that for you, that when you guys sign up as members, when you guys watch videos, when you buy Cast Brew coffee, that we are trying to use all of this to make a positive difference. It's not about us buying fancy cars or wearing gold chains or anything like that. It's just, if there's one thing I could buy, and everyone's saying, oh, thank you for writing this check to Tim Ballard, I want to say first and foremost, half of that was all you, the people in the super chats. Half of that was yours. So together we did this. But I will tell you, if there was one thing I could buy right now, if someone said, hey, you want to buy something? You have a choice between a fancy car or the work of Tim Ballard. No question, the work of Tim Ballard, infinitely more valuable. So I just want to say thank you for everybody who donated and watched last night, and just to give you that update. But let's get to the show. Joining us tonight to talk about this and a whole lot more is Shannon Bray.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Who are you? What do you do?
Currently I am running for North Carolina governor. That's my side job. My real job is I work for Department of Homeland Security and helping fine-tune some of our government systems.
Oh, that's a tough job.
It's a losing job.
But you're a libertarian? You're running in North Carolina?
Absolutely.
You're going to get rid of the IRS, or you're going to...
Well, I can't really get rid of the IRS as a...
I just exaggerating.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to definitely wreck the status quo, because you have the Republicans and the Democrats running for so long. Everything is the same. We're not going to get anywhere with without new ideas and new politicians. So ultimately, I plan on going there with a wrecking ball and, making some serious changes.
Right on. Well, thanks for hanging out. This will be fun. We also got Phil Labonte.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I am the lead singer of All That Remains, anti-communist and counter-revolutionary. And my buddy Brett.
Well, hello. Yes, my name is Brett Dasovic. I am the host of Pop Culture Crisis right here on YouTube, Monday through Friday. Happy to be here.
Happy Friday, everybody. It is Kellen. I'm pressing the buttons today. I'm ready to go when you guys are.
And I'll just add, nobody's here today. I'm like, where is there? Everyone's on vacation or on some mission. People are out doing journalism. Ian's not here. He's out filming.
I got a message like midway through the show. They're like, can you do the show tonight? I'm like trying to talk and send the message like, yes, I can.
Yeah, Ian's not here. And just an announcement for everybody. I'm going to be out all next week. Seamus will be filling in, hosting the show all next week. We have a bunch of really, really amazing guests. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And unfortunately for me, something I really, really don't want to do, I am going to a sports injury specialist to get repairs done on my busted up leg. So it is what it is. Nothing I can do about it. But let's jump into this first story. We got this from the Post Millennial. Internet explodes with memes after Mike Pence commits career suicide in an interview with Tucker Carlson. Following Pence's, social media exploded on Friday after former Vice President Mike Pence spoke with Tucker Carlson at the summit in Iowa, claiming that American cities are, quote, not my concern, while reiterating his support for the U.S. sending more tanks to Ukraine. Now, I want to play this clip, make sure I actually play the full clip, because when I first saw it, I felt like we weren't getting the proper context, and this might not actually be the full context. So, well, let's just play this clip and see if we have it, and then we'll talk about it. Is it playing? Oh, come on, Twitter. We love Twitter, but not when that happens. All right, where's the audio at? Right there, actually. All right. And now I am, there we go.
Don't have enough.
Here we go.
You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years. Yeah. Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. And yet, your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find on a map, who've received tens of billions of U.S. tax dollars, don't have enough tanks. I think it's a fair question to ask, like, where's the concern for the United States in that?
Well, it's not my concern. Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but that's not my concern. I'm running for president of the United States because I think this country's in a lot of trouble. I think Joe Biden has weakened America at home and abroad. And as President of the United States, we're going to restore law and order in our cities. We're going to secure our border. We're going to get this economy moving again. And we're going to make sure that we have men and women on our courts at every level that will stand for the right to life and defend all the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution. Anybody that says that we can't be the leader of the free world and solve our problems at home has a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth. We can do both.
So before the show, when we were watching this, the question was, did he literally just say that American cities are not his concern? And Phil, do you want to give your point of view on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that he was answering the previous time that Tucker said, was referring to his concern. So Tucker says, you're concerned with Ukraine and giving money to Ukraine, et cetera. And then Tucker goes on to say, there's all these problems at home. And then Tucker uses the phrase concern again. I think that Pence was replying to the first time that Tucker used concern, because then Pence goes on to talk about the problems in the United States, and stuff.
But what's the finality of his statement?
He does talk about Ukraine, but
he says, if you think we can't be the leader of the free world, then you got a small view.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. Like, I hear what you're saying. And part of me is like, maybe we give him the benefit of the doubt, but I can't do it.
I'm not giving. I mean, I wouldn't vote for his ass anyways, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just.
Who would?
I mean, seriously. So
I do think it's funny that everybody this is going viral. There's like 50,000 tweets in the past couple hours or whatever, and I'm just like, ain't nobody was gonna vote for this guy in the first place.
Like, I mean, he's what's he trending at on the
prediction market? 3 cents.
Yeah.
He's below Nikki Haley.
This is barely worth. It's only worth talking about for jokes, or to discuss what did people mean.
There goes Vivek.
Oh my stars and garters, my friends. We just refreshed this to pull up Mike Pence's numbers. Vivek Ramaswamy is nearly tied with Ron DeSantis. Ron dropping down now to 15 cents, with Vivek skyrocketing to 13, up 3, with Ron down 1.
Wow.
Closing in on second place. These are not polls. These are prediction markets. There is a slight correlation, obviously, with polling. But these are people making bets on who they think is going to win. And what you're basically seeing is real-time, I would say, decentralized computing power as to what may actually happen. So these prediction markets have a tendency to be correct, but it's not absolute. What do you think?
On the prediction market, or
on all of it? I don't know. Mike Pence.
Mike Pence. I think his statement's the equivalent of going home telling your wife that, hey, she didn't mean anything. The cashier who checked me out, was pretty professional. So it doesn't really matter what you say after that statement. It did a lot of damage.
And it doesn't really acknowledge that I think he's missing his base, right? That people here, especially people who would already be more inclined to vote for him than, say, someone on the left, don't want us in Ukraine, and they don't want us involved in a bunch of globalist nonsense. So he's missing the mark anyways by talking about whether the fact that we can do both. People don't want you focusing on both. They want you focusing here at home right now.
Yeah, I don't care if we send tanks to Ukraine, personally.
You don't?
You mean you don't care if we're doing it, as in you don't care to do it?
No. I don't care to send weapons of mass destruction over to a country.
It sounded like you were saying, let them do it. I don't care.
Oh, no. Yeah. Thanks for
Everybody's
that.
like,
I don't want my tax dollars fighting another
You almost pulled the Mike
war.
Pence there.
Yes. Political suicide. Well, I'm a libertarian, so it's kind of hard to kill me off.
That's why I was like, what?
So ultimately, I think the big news yesterday, which we only talked about a little bit, Joe Biden calling in reserves, selected reserves and ready reserves to be sent to Europe.
Yep.
I'm sorry, man. Our culture today does not support this kind of foreign intervention.
No.
It's just, for whatever reason, you know what I think it is? I think Ron Paul has a lot to do with it. I think Ron Paul was speaking up in the late 2000s to a lot of young people my age, and not to mention combined with the anti-war stuff that was coming during the Bush years. And then all of a sudden we're like, you got Democrats saying no war. You got Ron Paul running as a Republican saying no war. Hey, you know what? Most of us agree with that position and don't see a good reason for U.S. intervention overseas. We look back at history. We look at what the founding fathers thought of this, and we say ultimately, yeah, we shouldn't be doing it. Now that's a big problem for the neocons and the neolibs and people like Mike Pence, who are like, we're leaders of the free world. Yeah, what he's really saying is your labor, the work you do every day, when you look at your paycheck and you see that negative number for income tax, it's going to bombs and guns and tanks. And now they're deploying more U.S. personnel, the reserves. That's terrifying. To be sent to Europe for this, what is it, Atlantic Resolve or whatever it's called? Why? How about our borders? How about our roads? And that's exactly what Tucker was saying to Mike Pence. I got to tell you,
this is not his concern.
If he couldn't navigate that question properly, and he had to, imagine this. It's like you nailed it when you said she didn't mean that much to me, to your wife. Mike Pence is basically saying, to the face of all of these people begging to know why our money is going overseas, don't worry, it's somewhat worth it for some vague and nebulous reason, but I'll take care of the rest too. It's exactly as you described, telling your wife, don't worry, she doesn't mean anything to me.
Establishment Republicans are trying to have their cake and eat it too. They really want to, because there are still hawks in the Republican Party that want to see the United States be an expansive power, and they want to see the United States return to a situation similar to probably prior to the Iraq War.
They love the Bush years too.
Yeah. You know. So I mean, to think that he's not trying to play to both, I think is probably misguided, because like he has to get Trump's voters, you know, hypothetically, if he's going to win, he has to convince enough Trump voters, and he has to convince people in the middle. People in the middle are not going to be compelled by a guy that's essentially a religious fundamentalist, or borderline at least. He's a very religious person. I don't know if we call him fundamentalist, but whatever. He's very religious.
I don't think so. I think he's like stock neocon with a religious tint for the purpose of getting votes.
Well, yeah, he was the reason why it was such a good thing for Trump, right? Because he colored him in just the way he
He's supposed to be the establishment. But he was also supposed to be the guy that made it okay for the evangelicals to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
That was part of the reason why they picked him too, is because of his kind of. I mean, I had a bunch of friends that are progressives that were like, "No, really, he tried to shock the gay out of people when Pence got elected, or when Trump got elected." So like, there was a whole lot of people that were afraid of it, at least afraid of his religious bona fides or whatever. But he's got to get the middle, and I don't think that there's any kind of. I don't see a path for him just overall. I don't see how he gets the middle and satisfies Trump voters and stuff who want nothing to do with Ukraine, and also satisfies like the FAFO morons on Twitter. You know,
it's antithetical to the populist movement that's going on right now, which is very, very anti-war.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people for some reason who like Pence, who are like, come on, you know, he didn't really mean that. And it's just, you know, my response to that is like, okay, fine, fair point, whatever, if that's what you want to believe. But in the world of politics, let's just talk superficially. Pence he just stumbled on a black sandbag on stage and fell down in front of everybody.
Doesn't matter if that's what he wanted you to believe or even what he even meant. It's what matters is what people take from what you said. And the moment you give them a soundbite that juicy, it doesn't matter what you meant, because history won't remember it.
He just fell up the stairs.
3
times in a row. But I mean, look. I mean, who likes Mike Pence? What does he have to offer us? But for real, can we name any real policy of Pence's? I can tell you this. I know one policy of his: more money and weapons for Ukraine.
Never go into a room with a woman without your wife there. That's the only policy of his I remember.
Look, that's some like if you're trying to if you're in DC and trying to navigate DC, it's probably not a bad idea.
It's a very good idea.
Yeah. The Pence rule.
That's the only thing I remember though. That's
Mike Pence was basically whispering you, "Hey, dude, it's Me Too era.
Yeah,
make sure your wife is with you at all times." Yeah. And then they attack him for it for that reason, probably.
Yeah,
because you know some of these weirdos want to lie, cheat, and steal, and accuse people of all sorts of nasty stuff.
They made a whole big deal about him calling his wife mother, because it was with the are you not allowed to go to dinner? You have mother and blah blah blah. You know.
And then Kavanaugh happens, and they wonder why it was such a big deal. Like, oh, shocking.
Let's talk about Vivek Ramaswamy, because we have this clip here from Tucker as well. Vivek tweeted a clip I want to play for you guys. I'll just play it.
You know, my parents came to this country with almost no money. I've gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. And then people tell me, oh, that's because you had privilege. They tell me white privilege. It's sort of weird. It's sort of an interesting. It's kind of interesting.
Do you tell them?
Tucker's great.
As I take the blindfold off, and now
you tell
them? But the interesting answer is, actually what I do tell them, Tucker, is that I did have privilege. I didn't grow up in money, but I had 2 parents in the house, a mother and a father, with a focus on education and a faith in God. And you know what? That is the ultimate privilege. That if I'm going to enjoy that, every kid in this country ought to enjoy it too.
So we have, from that clip, and the reason I wanted to play it is I'm going to refresh for you right now the prediction markets for the GOP presidential nomination, which currently has Vivek Ramaswamy at 13 cents, Ron DeSantis at 15, and Trump at 62. Trump, the clear frontrunner. Let's refresh it and see where we're at. And Vivek has dropped down by 1 cent. Ron DeSantis has gone up by 1 cent. These things are very much in flux, considering these clips are still going around right now. But Vivek Ramaswamy has skyrocketed. I mean, if we take a look at this, let's go to 90 days in the prediction market. Take a look at he's jumping. He is climbing the ranks. DeSantis is dropping down rather quickly. I do think, and again, these are not polls, but I think the people who are tracking the political landscape, who are making bets on what the outcome is going to be, I think we're very close to seeing Vivek Ramaswamy take second place relatively soon.
I think that like what Vivek said at the very end, like I'm an agnostic and I agree with him. Like,
hands down. That clip was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Family privilege.
That's why he's advancing in the polls like this, because I think that he speaks in a very authentic way. He doesn't sound like a politician, I don't think, or at least he doesn't come across like a politician to people, because he does sound very polished, but I don't feel like he's just delivering a narrative kind of line. And maybe that's my own personal opinion, because I find his arguments compelling. So
I like listening to him. I mean, I think all his arguments are compelling. Everything he wants to dismantle the government in various pieces, and I think what he says a lot is some smart solutions. So I'm happy that he's getting this out to get a little bit more name recognition. And I'm surprised that DeSantis has fallen so much, but he has so much negative attention now that, I mean, with Disney, whether you're right or wrong, and his anti-cannabis, whether that's right or wrong, he's just kind of like just driving it into the ground.
Yeah, look, don't ask me why. I've got my opinions on these things. But what I've been saying to many DeSantis supporters is just look at the prediction markets and the polls. He's going down. Okay, that is not for me wanting it to happen. I think he's an excellent leader who really has his ear to the ground on all these issues, but I think he's doing a very terrible job campaign-wise. But even if you think I'm wrong, I'm curious why he's in this decline. If you ignore it, it'll only get worse.
Yeah, and his wife's a perfect running mate for him. Like she's out, she's well polished, and so she's adding, I think, a lot of value. But then at the same time, he's obviously crashing.
Not enough value.
Who do you guys want?
I would
libertarian. Well, you're libertarian too, Phil.
Man, if Vivek and RFK made it, I feel like America wins.
But
just to voting.
Why RFK though?
I'm a big fan of him. Just well,
he's got a big, long history of very authoritarian positions.
Disavow.
No, here's what I would say personally. For the Democrat leadership, he's the best they got.
Yeah.
Because with all his bad policies, he's better than all the rest.
Way better.
So I would love to see that. So for me, it's kind of like I'm not a big Libertarian Party kind of guy. I'm actually more like fairly liberal on the political spectrum. So I look at an RFK Jr. like, I think he's really trying to be a populist. He's really trying to reach the people. And he's speaking about a lot of current issues that are good. So we've talked about the power of like a Trump-Kennedy ticket. But I don't want to ask you about Republicans because you're libertarian. Is there is there someone you want to see run for the libertarian ticket?
I've seen a couple people who are running for the libertarian ticket, but I don't quite feel that they're quite ready for the task. Huh?
Who's announced for the libertarians?
Chase.
Oh, Chase is from Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chase Oliver.
Yeah.
Chase Oliver.
I believe he's announced. But I mean, I know who he is. I followed him in the Georgia election. I know where he got his spotlight from with the whole Senate election. But Shane Hazel did it the year before. I did it the same year as Shane Hazel did in North Carolina. Getting 3% and breaking the barrier and switching the election. It happens every year somewhere along the line, and that's really kind of what he's riding. I don't really know enough about him. I don't agree with him on some of the QIA issues, the LGBT,
Yeah.
Which candidate, Chase?
Yeah.
Libertarians tend not to really agree with each other,
Yeah, a lot of them just say, banning things aren't good. But at the same time, we live in a society where you just can't run amok.
Yeah, I love that meme though with Groundskeeper Willie, and he's like, "Libertarians, they ruined libertarianism."
I mean, the first thing or the best way to know that you're an actual libertarian is another libertarian says you're not a real libertarian.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah, We're getting into it right now. I know a lot of people have said, "Oh, it's so early. We're only a few weeks in for a lot of these candidates." But this is where the pickup happens because the primaries are coming. I think March of next year. So that's gonna be a big deal. It is a very, very big deal historically that Joe Biden is even facing a primary as the incumbent with one more term available to him. That's surprising.
I think that it's surprising that there are people that are kind of speaking up, but at the same time, it's also surprising that he's actually the president because it's really clear that he's not the guy running the show.
He's a puppet.
Yeah. I mean, it's run by the bureaucracy, the existing bureaucracy, and it's not Joe Biden that's making the calls. I mean,
he's the perfect candidate for him.
Yeah, but not anymore.
No, I mean in the future because he's not in charge.
Yeah, I wonder if the reason they ran Biden was because they feared prosecution. If Trump won, Biden's in trouble.
Yeah.
If any other Democrat won, Biden doesn't have any control and may get thrown under the bus. So let's say 2020, let's just say hypothetically Newsom gets elected for all his faults and problems. When stories start breaking about Biden's, their corruption, say these stories out of like Politico that came out, almost 10 years ago, any other Democrat might be like, look, we're not going to sacrifice the future of our administration because the mistakes and the problems you encountered. I do think they'd still probably protect him, but he would not have the power of the presidential seat to protect himself. So I wonder if a large component was, Trump started looking into what we were doing in Ukraine. We better get Biden in so we can put an end to this. Because that's really was the big issue. Biden did not announce he was running for president. Trump calls Ukraine and says, hey, what's up with this video? They then claim in the media, Donald Trump was digging up dirt on his political opponent. As if the only thing they could have done is been like, he's running for office. You can't do that. You can't look at these crimes. And then now he's got to run for office. You know what I mean?
And Democrat media establishment fell in line right away and started immediately shifting the narrative that direction.
Yeah.
I mean, that was going to go as soon as there was someone that was establishment approved, the media was going to go all in anyways. That there wasn't a whole lot of question about that.
Who's it going to be now? Is it going to be like Newsom? I mean, overwhelmingly, the prediction markets are saying Joe Biden. But he's at like 60%. He's at like 60%. Like, he's the incumbent. He should be at 100%.
It is interesting seeing the way that, like, the fact that there's any competition at all kind of proves that if you're not paying close attention, you wonder how that could possibly be. Because if you're not paying close attention, you just assume he's doing a great job. You don't know what's actually going on in the world. But if there's any competition at all, it does prove that there is a bit of a dent in the armor there. And it's hard for the average person to see. But just even hearing about an RFK, if you're somebody that doesn't pay close attention to politics, I would hope that would at least wake them up and be like, why is there anyone even questioning this at all? You could actually, mention his age would be a big part of it. Like, a lot of people, even if they're not politically initiated, might wonder, why is a guy his age going to be running again?
Trump's fairly old as well.
Yeah.
What is Trump?
75.
No, a year younger than Biden. He just doesn't show it.
No, wait, he's more than a year.
He's 4 years.
4 or 5 or
4 or 5. Like,
Yeah.
he will be the same age. Like, he would have been the same age at the next election that Biden was when he got elected. So,
And I think what was
like
RFK? He's 69 or 70.
Yeah, he's like 69 or 70.
We need some younger people. I can absolutely understand.
Vivek.
Yeah, Vivek's what, 38?
Yeah,
30. He might be 37.
He's young.
But Ron DeSantis too. I certainly understand that. But I got to tell you, man, if Ron is hurting this much in the polls and they're not course correcting, I think that's a failure of leadership.
I think
I love his policy.
I think the reason Ron is kind of tanking is because Ron doesn't have the charisma people thought that he was going to have. Like, when he gets onto the national stage, people aren't like, he's not magnetic when he's on stage. He doesn't have the charisma. He's not like Barack Obama. He's not Bill Clinton. He's not Donald Trump. And those are three people that had really, really significant charisma. And there's an argument that Bush had really good charisma as well. So that could be it. But
a big part of that is people like the idea that he was more stoic and that he could be a version of Trump without being more bombastic and over the top. But that doesn't work once you actually have to come out and speak more regularly.
Just because that was an argument doesn't mean that was actually what the country was going to feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and I'm just saying that this could be, I don't know, but it would make sense that the more people get exposed to him and hear him speak outside of just in the context of Florida, the less they actually like him.
When he like, because I'm not paying as close attention to that as I was before. But when somebody mentioned like his stance on weed, I'm like, really, like, even if that is your stance, why are you talking about it now? Why wouldn't you hold off and just not mention it? Like, it seems like a disconnection.
There are still Republicans that like that, you know?
Well, we can talk about the viability of the Republicans, and there will be more developments, of course. Maybe Ron DeSantis will shift some of his campaign, really start to take off. It is early. There's a lot of opportunity for him there. But let's talk about the other side here. Joe Biden. What's he currently up to? I have this tweet for you from Andrew at Don't Walk Run. He said, here's the raw footage of creepy Joe Biden trying to sniff/eat a random Finnish child. I'm going to play this video for you. Pat on the shoulder, and he walks away. Now, the first thing I want to say is, when Biden sees this little kid and starts doing the nom nom thing or whatever, and they're all laughing, if this was a family member being endearing to a grandchild, I might be like, whatever. But here's the bigger issue. For one, this is a strange guy doing. What are you doing to this kid, man? That's inappropriate. But also, it's the double dip. The double dip. Watch this clip. I'm gonna go slow. After he moves back, he goes back in and does this very weird sniff right there. Look at that, slow motion, and reverse. The first one you can say, oh, he's just being old, family, Uncle Joe, Grandpa Joe, whatever. And then the kid looks distressed. Look at the kid's face. And he goes in for an extra sniff. Right there. Sniff.
What's with the sniff?
Yo, he's sniffing. Sniffing Joe. And he promised he'd stop. You remember this?
Yeah.
He doesn't. I guarantee you he does not remember making that promise.
That explains it.
A man needs a leash.
Yeah. Like, just imagine
when he gets so near a kid.
being any of the people that have to work on that campaign anytime he has to go out anywhere near children, and they're just like...
You think Usher's a menace?
Yes. Well, Usher may be a menace. Biden's a worse menace. That is for sure.
So, Joe Biden, he goes out early a few years ago, and he's sniffing women and squeezing them and touching them.
Yeah, like adults too, right?
Yes. And then everyone was like, hey, yo, Joe, you got to stop. He comes out and he's like, I'm sorry. I'm just, I'm an old man. We used to do this stuff. I'm willing to bet when that happened, things like this, he goes back and he gets into the vehicle or whatever. And they're like,
88 miles an hour.
Yeah.
They go, Joe, you need to stop sniffing kids. And he goes, I'm an old man. I got very few things left in life. Give me this one.
Wait, who is it when they're like, I'm not a pervert, I'm Italian? That's what, like,
that was Cuomo.
Yeah, is there a Biden version of that? I'm a Delaware man.
And then Cuomo went on to post a video of all the time he inappropriately touched people.
The thing is, I know there were women that were like, I'm fine with it. Because I personally know more than one woman that said to me, yeah, I mean, it's Cuomo. He's fine. I don't care that I'm like, really?
Well,
that is insane to me.
I mean, come on. Look, the average woman, they see Joe Biden and they're fanning themselves. They're
Indeed.
I mean, come on. He's a regular Humphrey Bogart.
I'm sure Tara Reid has nothing but...
He's a regular Hugh Hefner.
Who's a celebrity from that era that would have been considered...
Well, Hugh Hefner back in the day was supposed to be, and he's dead, just like Joe.
Wait. Who's that Lane guy? LaLanne? Jack LaLanne, was that his name?
Oh, Jack LaLanne was one of the first fitness guys. Yeah,
super ripped, and he, ladies they loved him. He was very in shape.
Yeah.
Tara Reid would beg to differ.
Yeah.
About
Joe,
the Joe Biden phone call.
Yeah. You got to make that like the campaign thing, because they talk about how Trump can't get suburban women votes because he's like grody, like lecherous or whatever. Just play the Biden game. Just you go to a voter and be like, I want you to imagine Joe Biden. He comes up from behind, slides his hands onto your back.
I'm already done.
Gives you a little squeeze and then How do you feel? Would you like to vote for him?
Violated.
Yeah, would you like to vote for him?
I've never felt more victimized in my life.
I mean, it's been years. And here we are once again with a viral video. Everybody's sharing it of Joe Biden sniffing kids.
Honestly, though, like, this is only going to get worse because he's not getting cognitively. He's not getting better.
And they're getting rid of all the drugs in the White House, so he won't be able to take those.
I doubt they're getting rid of it. They've already no, they're not getting rid of the drugs. They're making the problems go away.
Right.
They're not making the drugs go away.
I think they should just let him have them. Just give them to him.
Remember when they said that the drugs may have been from a journalist? That was actually a warning to the journalists who reported on it. Yeah. The Secret Service is just, they look at the report and they're like, maybe it belonged to a journalist. And they're like, no.
With that Stewie head where it tilts all the way to the side like that. Do
and
you know?
The story goes away.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. At least that's what I want to believe.
Wait. Could you imagine, like, come on, Joe Biden's, 80 years old now?
Yeah.
We are going to get to a point. You know how they say, like, old people are racist because they just don't care anymore? Or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, what happens when we get to that point where they can't control Joe because he's just so old, he just doesn't care? And he's like, look, my life expectancy was 2 years ago. I got nothing. You can't hold. You got no leverage anymore.
Sounds like he's on the floor of the Senate in 1996 or 4 or something like that.
They're going to kill him off and then do the what's that Bernie thing where they just kind of bring his body around.
Oh, we can have Bernie.
Oh, we can have Bernie.
But look. What do you threaten Joe Biden with? They're going to go to him and say, like, look, Joe, we want you to make these moves. They're like, I'm 80. I'm past my life expectancy. And they're like, well, you have a son, don't you? And he's like, oh, are you kidding me? You think I'm going to respond to a threat to that guy?
They have to withhold ice cream. That's the only thing they have over him.
No. The other way around. Positive reinforcement. They say, okay, fine.
Yeah.
What if we get you some Haagen-Dazs? And he's like, all right.
We'll get you we'll get you some Ben and Jerry's, and we'll have a clown feed it to you.
No, but in all seriousness, there's got to come a point where Joe Biden just. There was that video where I think he was campaigning in like 2020, and some guy asked him a question, and he just snaps and starts going like, what? And I think that's because he's just like, I don't care. I'm so done. And he's in this position. I feel like, a lot of people have wondered, like, why would they try and replace him in the primary? Isn't Joe the deep state? Like, wouldn't he just step down voluntarily if they really wanted someone else? And I'm like, yeah, maybe he's just gone rogue. Maybe he's just like, I do whatever I want. I don't care. You got nothing over me.
Maybe they have a schedule and they just told him, wait, just hold out until we announce blah, 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 or whatever, you know? And I really don't think that he has a significant amount of input. I really feel like he's handlers do the whole deal for him.
Well, that's what they love about it, right?
Yeah.
And every time they think about getting rid of him, they look at Kamala. They're like, we'll do a couple more kids. It's fine. We'll keep going. It's fine.
Look at this. So this is the prediction market for the Democrats. Joe Biden's at 65 cents. He is the sitting president and incumbent, and there's people, a lot of them, 35%, who think, yeah, he ain't gonna win. Mm-hmm. Gavin Newsom, you know what it is, though? What you got to understand about these prediction markets is there's also a value bet in that, look, if I spend 21 cents on a share of Gavin Newsom, that's nearly a 5 times return if he gets the nomination. That's really what it's about. I still think it's fair to consider it should be 100 for Joe Biden. Yeah. The fact that PredictIt decided to make a contract on if he would even be the nominee says a lot.
He's the freaking guy that saved democracy, didn't he? He came and swooped in and said, yo, I'm saving democracy from the Donald Trump and MAGA Americans. Like, he's the one who was like the saving grace for America, right?
No, but I like that. Saving democracy from Trump supporters.
That's what he said, yeah.
Basically saying, like, removing them from the Democratic process.
100%. That's the point. Like, that, like, I talk about, like, Maoism and stuff a lot. Like, that's what when they say our democracy, the people that are the deplorables are not included. They are not part of their democracy. That is a distinction between people that support them and people that don't. That's the same kind of crap that Mao did too. Mao was saying it in Chinese, but it was the same thing. It was our democracy because they use the same phrases. They use democracy and they talk about it, but with their understanding, it's not a full democracy unless everybody has an equal voice, not just everyone gets a vote.
Well, I feel like
it was the same thing.
I feel like what they're basically saying is our democracy refers to us all in agreement with each other.
Yes, 100%.
You guys are not in agreement, so we must remove you from the process.
100%.
It's why they also laugh at the idea when you point out the fact that it's not a democracy, that you do live in a constitutional republic, and there are things that entails, and then they laugh at that because that's not actually what they're talking about.
Yep. Absolutely. Like that is the line that they're using. There's so much stuff. Again, James Lindsay from New Discourses, he did a podcast on this, and he went through a speech that Mao did, and that it was translated to English. And then he said, look, this right here, that Mao is saying is the exact same thing that Kamala Harris means when she says this. This right here that Mao was saying is the exact same thing when you translate it to English that Joe Biden is saying here. So there's this. When I say that there are communist influence throughout all of our government, it goes through the bureaucracy all the way up through actual like DSA members, but all the way to the presidency. There are some people that repeat the things knowingly that they're communist things, and there are some people that repeat them without knowing that they're repeating communist propaganda. But there's a ton of communist propaganda
in the media, right?
In the media and in the government.
Who is the CNN reporter that like they had him change his shot, and there was like a picture of Mao and his wall behind him? Do you remember that?
I saw that.
Like it's. And they're like, ignore that. That didn't, or they just expect you to not know.
Happened.
These are not the clowns you're looking for.
This is not the Mao you're looking for.
Yeah.
Biden's known for plagiarism, so maybe he's consciously going through and reading it, thinking it's Chinese. Nobody will know.
He's like, hey, this Mao guy's all right. We got get some quotes from this guy, huh? Come on, man. All right, man. Are you guys ready for this one? I love this story. This is a meme. ABC News says Trump's unprecedented campaign pitch. Trump's unprecedented campaign pitch. Elect me to get revenge on the government.
MAGA, baby!
Yeah, right? I love it because they write this unironically, and libertarians, post-liberals, Trump supporters are screen grabbing it and posting the Chad meme with just yes.
It's the most compelling thing I've ever heard a politician say in my life. Yes. Get revenge on the government. Sign me up.
Look at this. Donald Trump has told supporters not to just see him as a candidate, but as, quote, your retribution.
Yes!
Milo said this. Milo Yiannopoulos on the show said this. He said, in his comeback bid for the White House, the former president, twice impeached, but twice acquitted, now twice indicted, has vowed that if reelected, he will wield his power to personally remake parts of the federal government to a degree that historian Mark Updegrove said was unprecedented. Trump has promised to hamstring perceived enemies, including the DOJ, which is currently investigating him, and target Republican boogeyman like President Joe Biden. It sounds like they're saying Joe Biden's a Republican. He swore in June to appoint a special prosecutor to go after the Bidens. Okay, good. And that he would totally obliterate the deep state. I'm not hearing any insult or negativity. Referring to a conspiratorial view of how the government operates. This is the final battle. Either they win or we win, he said.
The libertarians just got out-libertarianed by the bump stock guy. What are you doing?
Well, come on. What do you got to say? You're libertarian.
Look. Yeah. I mean, I think it's an excellent speech. But what's his policy actually going to be? How is he really going to do it?
Just so we know that he's a middle finger.
But is he going to take out the IRS? Is he going to take out DOE? What is he actually going to do?
DeSantis said he was going to do that, didn't he? Something that effect?
He talked about Department of Education, yeah.
Oh, education.
Which is, I love it.
Yeah.
If all Donald Trump at this point has is they have slighted me and I will fire them, I'll be like, okay, take my vote. Fire them all. Can libertarians disagree? Fire them all.
No.
And I don't think that he would be entirely successful, but it would be a lot of fun to watch him try.
Yeah. I think he'd be successful at this point. I just want to stress, I don't think he did a perfect job in his first term. I didn't vote for him in 2016. I think he did some moderately good things in terms of foreign policy I really liked, and some culture war issues. He was very late in the game too. So he wasn't my first choice. A year ago I said DeSantis, because DeSantis has been on top of the game when it comes to culture war issues. But Donald Trump comes out and he's like, don't know, don't care, I want revenge, I'm going to fire everybody. And I'm like, I see fire in his eyes. That's all I can ask for.
Well, it's not necessarily about the American people. It's his revenge, but we all may benefit from his revenge.
That's right. You know what I mean? Like,
considering how selfish and narcissistic the guy is, I want him to make it personal, because that's way more of a motivator than me.
Right.
Like, I'm not motivated. Donald Trump doesn't give a crap about me.
If I'm standing on the sidewalk and there's a guy behind me and I see Trump barreling full speed, power walking, all angry, I'm getting out of the way. Right? I'm going to be like, whoa, don't let me stand in your way, sir. And that may mean you are not getting what you want, but the guy behind you turns out to be a mugger that was after you. And so I'm like, I'll take it.
If you're in a war zone and your enemy gets hit with friendly fire, thumbs up. Like, that's cool. Like, if they're going to smoke each other, take each other out, fine. If Donald Trump wants to go in there and actually make cuts, go. Get them.
Isn't it funny how terrified the corporate press is, though?
It's delicious.
Why are journalists so scared that someone would fire bureaucrats?
Access, because they're friendly with the bureaucrats now, and because they have their personal email addresses and their personal home phone numbers, and sometimes they get scoops. So it's all about access.
One of the hardest things I think would be if he's talking about getting rid of the deep state. It's the unelected officials, right? You can fire all the heads of departments you want, but all of those heads of departments have trained people under them who think like they do, who they've groomed for those positions farther up. So it's not just getting rid of whoever you're talking about, whether you're talking about CIA, all of these departments. There's going to be somebody that's going to come in there, because it's not like this is one generation of a problem. This is multi-generational, and it will take more than one president if you're going to actually turn things around. This is my opinion.
And I don't know for sure what the legality is of the government, of the federal, the president actually getting rid of cabinet level.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, what does that mean? Getting rid of?
Abolishing.
Yeah.
Like when I say get rid of, I mean abolish at the cabinet level. So the whole department, from the seat on the cabinet all the way down to the ground enforcers of whatever department we're talking about, whether it be HUD, whether it be the Department of Energy, which I don't know that we can do that because of the nuclear stuff, but still, the Department of the Interior, DOT, IRS. Well, that's part of the Treasury, so that would be a little different. But there's plenty of stuff that he could get rid of as the executive and just be like, get out of here. In the Justice Department alone, he could do stuff with get rid of the stuff with the FBI by executive order. He can get rid of stuff with the ATF by executive order, because if I understand correctly, I could be wrong, but that's the way that I believe, because he is the executive he is the executive. He can get rid of stuff in the Department of Justice. So that would be a great place to start. FBI and ATF and stuff. But the more that he's looking to cut, whoever's looking to cut the most, that's who I'm behind. The second most cuts is the second person I'm behind. Like that, it's that simple. Like, I don't give a crap about any of their personalities. Who's going to shrink the federal government the most? Because right now it's the biggest government in human history. So don't tell me we can't cut.
Trump should go to libertarian rallies and be like, I'm going to fire everybody.
He should have gone to Pork Fest.
And they're going to, seriously.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, I really don't want to vote for Bumpstock Donnie, but if he really is going to fire these people, and you can see the fire in his eyes and the want for revenge, I mean, you might actually get it.
Yeah.
That's like the difficult libertarian position, I guess. Even Dave Smith was like, there's some foreign policy stuff he did that was good, and it's like, man.
But also, didn't they also question, why didn't you pardon Assange? Why didn't you pardon Snowden?
That would have been had he done that.
I would have really liked to have seen that. It felt like a lot of that stuff, the pardons at the end, a lot of that stuff felt very performative. And there was more important, real change that he could have made through that stuff that would have been, even on the way out, would have been good for his re-election campaign.
Snowden and Assange, had he done that, he would have won the hearts of a lot of libertarians just because of that move.
We did have Don Jr. on. And he did say it's time we do pardon Assange and Snowden. And I'm not even as bullish on Snowden, to be completely honest. Snowden is like a middle of the road thing for me. Assange is no brainer. Assange shouldn't be charged at all.
Yep.
He's an international journalist who is wrongly charged with deep BS. They falsely accuse him of abusing women. Not true. Now they're accusing him of espionage, literally a journalist. What does he do? He gets information. He publishes information. Snowden was a leaker. Snowden took information, gave it to journalists without knowing what it was. There's an argument to be made that it was so good what he did, exposing things like X-Keyscore and NSA spying, that it's high time we say, look, no more exile. Come on home, man. Like we are happy we got this information. But the thing about Snowden, it's like, the big issue is he did not know what he was giving out. He knew some of it, but he just took a bulk thing. I'm not all about encouraging that. I like whistleblowers. I think people should expose darkness and corruption. But we have security in this country for a reason. I like this country. I like the fact that we defend ourselves. You can't just leak everything. But that being said, even Don Jr. said, I think it's high time we do pardon him. That doesn't mean Trump Sr. would do it. But it does show that there is at least a sphere of influence in the Trump world that is starting to be like, let's roll with it. I do think the reason Trump wanted Assange brought to the U.S. was because Assange knows things pertaining to the Clintons, the establishment, neolibs, neocons. And Trump wanted that information, and Assange would not give it up because Assange has integrity, and he is a journalist, and he protects his sources. So I think that was a strong component for Trump. He knew, he's like, this guy's got information we need and won't give it up.
I also think that the intel agencies are a big part of why we need to pare back, right? Is like you
100%.
cannot do a lot of this unless we figure out a way to limit the influence of these intel agencies who are essentially responsible to no one, accountable to no one.
You're right, but the information that we're worried about the intel agencies collecting is the information that we're voluntarily giving to all the social media companies and Google and stuff. So I get it. You're right, and I don't know what the way or the best way to prevent the government from just subpoenaing it, because these companies are just throwing the information at the feds. As soon as the feds ask, they're just like, yeah, because again, access, because of favor with the most powerful government ever. So I don't know what the right way to fix it is, but they've already got the information, your social media companies and stuff like that. They all have the information out there. So for the feds, it's just a matter of sending the subpoena.
We've given all of our stuff up.
But it also seems like the focus is increasingly more domestic, right? Like,
yeah.
We are not focusing overseas the way we used to. We're focusing a lot more on domestic terrorism with Patriot Front and other such federal organizations. Like it just feels like that's where a lot of those cuts would need to come, but it's going to be very hard to do that because they're so burrowed into our government.
Well, the whole Patriot Act itself, it's called the Patriot Act because it sounds awesome, but all it is
that too. I thought I said Patriot Front. Patriot Front, another group, domestic terrorists, and that's a big part of our focus here in this country now. Is they're using that as a weapon against regular Americans who are not idiots like Patriot Front.
That's the federal theater kid.
Exactly.
I want to pull up this year tweet. We have a big story. We didn't get into it yesterday because, of course, we were talking about Sound of Freedom. But Twitter is now going to be paying its personalities who generate a certain amount of impressions. Basically, Twitter will operate in a similar way that YouTube does. That if you produce content that gets views and those views deliver ads, you get a cut of these ads. I was pleasantly surprised, rather abruptly, to get a pop-up on Twitter that said they were paying me about $6,000. And I'm like, I didn't even do anything. Like, I barely even use Twitter. But I want to pull up this tweet from Brian Krasenstein. I think Brian has been on a tear lately with some excellent tweets, and this one is very good. For those that aren't familiar, he is a liberal personality, but check out this one. This is good. He tweets, "The most entertaining outcome is the most likely outcome." I believe it was Elon who said that, wasn't it? Or was that a quote from somebody else?
That's Musk, yeah.
Elon said that. And he goes, "Blocked by Trump on Twitter in 2018. Unblocked by Trump on Twitter in 2019. Banned from Twitter in 2019. Unbanned by Elon in 2022. Made $25,000 from Twitter in 2023. At this rate, I'll be CFO of Twitter by 2024 and Trump's VP by 25. So here's what's funny about this story. Of course, we'll get into the Twitter stuff. But Taylor Lorenz, you know her, you love her, wrote, "Far-right Twitter influencers first on Elon Musk's monetization scheme." I love it. Andrew Tate. "I am pretty sure that Brian Krasenstein, the liberal Biden voter, made more money than Andrew Tate." And the Krasensteins, because it's his brother as well, even pointed out that between them, they made way more money than some of these other personalities. And Taylor Lorenz is calling it far right and omitting them from the story.
I far righted before I came over to here for the show. I went to the gym and I was doing cardio.
Oh, jeez.
I'm sure that JoJo from Jers and Brooklyn Dad are doing fine on Twitter as far as monetization. But yeah,
they don't get it from Twitter though; they get it from the DNC.
Yes, exactly. Right. Did you say, Kellen, earlier that you said that Taylor Lorenz was offered to box with Ashley Sinclair?
I think Ashley
Sinclair offered to box. Yeah,
it's never going to happen.
Taylor didn't respond.
No, just Ashley Sinclair.
Too bad.
Posted. Yeah.
I got a shout out for the Krasenstein brothers. We've had him on the show before, but Brian responded to Taylor Lorenz's article. For those that aren't familiar with this context, Taylor Lorenz is a notoriously bad journalist who has written false and misleading stories. So in response to saying far-right Twitter influencers make money, he said, "You might be reading the Washington Post article by Taylor Lorenz and be thinking, but Brian Krasenstein made $24,000 from Elon, and he's not far-right. All I can say is, I work out." And I said, "I warned you, Brian." He posted a video of him working out, and I said, "You're going to become conservative." That's how it goes.
Start going to the gym.
You are. Yeah, and then Ed Krasenstein, his brother, also criticized this very heavily, saying it was factually incorrect, noting that there were right-wing personalities posting this, but that they had actually made more money than a lot of people. This is the media's game. What happened is Threads comes out by Instagram. It sucks.
It's horrible.
Elon then launches, as prescribed in February, that there would be rev sharing like YouTube does and other social media platforms do, Instagram and Facebook do. And now they're acting like it is a big scheme to bribe people to stay on the platform. And they're acting like it's the far right. So let me get this straight.
Does YouTube bribe people?
Yeah, all of these liberal personalities and leftists they refuse to pay for Twitter. They stop using Twitter. And then when the people who actually use the platform get paid, they go, aha, Elon Musk is bribing people. It's like, dude, the Krasensteins used the platform, stuck to the platform. They're liberals. They made money. At any rate, this is a very, very big deal in that there is now a viable platform for monetization outside of YouTube. Look, I tweet random nonsense. I have 1.7 million followers on Twitter. I don't know why. But thank you for following me on Twitter. Now I kind of know why. Now I'm like, oh, I should post clips onto Twitter. I should post content there. We should simulcast the stream or do something like that on Twitter, because now there's an opportunity to break the censorship market and shatter the censorship.
Mm-hmm.
Get all those hot takes you've been saving up forever and just start dropping them one by one so you can start making money.
I mean, the thing is, I don't know if they've got like special rates for people that produce content that's exclusive for Twitter, or what the deal's going to be. But, you know, a place like this produces plenty of content to put up on the old Twitter machine, you know?
I think it's awesome over the last few weeks you've seen with the Young Turks. I can't remember her name. Anna. And now with the Krasensteins. I don't want to call it a red pilling because I don't think it's quite that. But they're kind of seeing just how crazy the cult is, right?
Yeah.
Because they got paid from Twitter, they're right wing now. Like, come on, man. So I hope the Krasensteins kind of... I think they know. I think they realize how kind of extreme the left can be at times. And I think definitely Anna knows from the Young Turks. But it's been awesome to witness, you know, from like a backseat kind of perspective over the last few weeks.
Because she does not want to be a birthing person.
Yeah, no bonus holes.
No bonus
That's why
hole.
everyone's upset.
Yes!
I haven't heard that one yet. You caught me off guard.
That one ends up in the chat very often.
Bonus
that
hole.
one ends up in the chat very often when you're on live.
I mean, I don't blame her, you know?
But we're just seeing like the mob online come after the Krasensteins and the Young Turks, and it's over nothing. I mean, seemingly nothing, just having a difference of opinion.
Yeah. We had on the Culture War this morning, we had two drag queens. One was a more leftist drag queen. One was a not really left or right, just an older drag queen. The Kitty Demure and maybe a girl were the two drag queens. And Kitty, the drag queen's name, I suppose, I believe it's Kitty, I could be wrong, but was saying, look, you know, kids should not be in these things. These are for adults. These are nightlife. These are nightclub things. These are party things. And the leftist was saying more otherwise. That was basically the argument. But the interesting thing about it was the cult-like ideology that persists in the left's view. And there was a moment on the show, the reason I bring this up is that I think the drag queen, the leftist, may have stumbled into something inadvertently which could cause problems for them. I criticized the book Genderqueer at the end of the show, saying conservatives have criticized this book without reading it, and they should read it. And many post-liberal thinkers and anti-woke people have criticized the book without reading it, and they should, because they highlight this book, Genderqueer, as having graphic images that shouldn't be shown to kids. That's correct, but the book is about this individual, this author's deep abuse and trauma, growing up from abusive parents, being forced to reuse menstrual products for days on end to the point where they smelled horribly, were pulled out of class, not being able to read till 12, having to go about their, relief business outside, and maybe said, thank you for that in response. I don't think that thank you will fly with the cult on the left. And that, I think, whether I'm right or wrong, my point is just my perception of it. There is a clear fall in line, say whatever you're supposed to say, no matter what it is, no matter how silly it is, or else. Whereas whatever this faction is, it's conservative, liberal, libertarian, people disagreeing on a ton of issues, but like kind of just being chill with each other.
I get called bigot by other libertarians just because of my stance on that particular issue.
Just because you're a libertarian.
Just because I'm a libertarian.
Yeah, but what is up with that? I mean, let's talk about that because Joe Jorgensen I think it was 2020, right? Tweeted that cult worship line. It is not enough to not be racist. We must be actively anti-racist, which is basically a cult mantra. It's like effectively a neo-Marxist prayer.
Yep.
To see a libertarian tweet, "We must do something," was kind of hilarious to me. Like, we all must do this thing. Like, I thought we were all about individual liberty and responsibility. I'm curious your thoughts on that element of the Libertarian Party and those ideas.
Yeah, I'm all about the individual and not necessarily the party itself. I was a libertarian well before I even knew what the party was. When I was kind of looking for my identity, back when McCain and Sarah Palin were running, and I just didn't like any of my options. So, I mean, I adopted ideology just because it makes sense to me. You don't hurt other people, you don't take people's stuff, and you just kind of mind your own business and live your life. But now you have the government coming in and ultimately trying to make decisions for you, both on the left and the right. One tries to police your existence, and the other one does now the same thing and tries to take your money along with it. And now they're redefining society now in a culture war that doesn't even seem to make sense to me. And they're drawing lines in the sand that I've talked to people in the L, the G, the B, and the T communities, and they're all in agreement, right? And then you have the QIAs, and I don't even know what the I and the A stand for, but
Intersex, right?
Intersex. Queer, intersex, and asexual. Yeah. But there's more than that. There's two SI,
two spirits, right?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
and yes, and then there's a bunch of other letters that go into it.
But I mean, I feel like with the T, right? I feel like a lot of that is like with the body dysphoria and the middle aspects, where the Q is more just how I feel today.
Well, so here's the interesting thing. I mean, the T does encompass what the drag queen earlier was saying is trans non-binary, in which people will be gender fluid. That's how they describe it.
Boy, you about to find out.
Oh yeah. But here's what I see with the Progress Pride flag. It is, at one point, it was a rainbow flag to symbolize, the LGBT community. Then they added these stripes to it. Then they added a triangle to it. Then they added a circle to it. They're basically, it's like the Horde in World of Warcraft. You guys know what that reference is?
Yep.
It was these various bands of fractured cultures that came together. And so the idea behind that flag is aggrieved groups forming under one banner. They don't necessarily make sense. It does not make sense to have a gay pride flag that includes black people. Well, because not all black people are gay. I mean, the insinuation that this is a pride flag for gay LGBT pride and all black and brown people are a component of that doesn't seem to make a lot. It's not the same thing.
Have people started I feel like people started calling it the Progress flag. Do you feel like that's
I believe it's called the Progress Pride flag.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe this is all just a really good plot from a flag maker who just wants to sell you a new flag every couple of years because they have to keep adding things to it constantly.
It's just all about oppression.
Yeah, it's called the Progress Pride flag. And so it's got, it's now got black, brown, sky blue, pink, white, a yellow triangle, and a purple circle. Mm-hmm. It's basically just putting symbols of aggrieved groups into one flag.
What's the purple circle?
I believe it could be asexual.
Okay.
Is there a white diamond? Maybe I would.
Could be intersex.
Nothing white. Nothing white.
There's a white stripe. There is a white stripe
too.
Yeah,
but we know what group is not included, and that's
right. Well, no.
That's
So the Progress Pride flag does have a white triangle on it, and that's because what is this? Okay. So the Progress Pride flag I have right here, the largest component of it is a white triangle. And that's because they all agree that they think white people are the most powerful, and of course, they want to make sure they're represented perfectly on their flag. I'm kidding, by the way.
Okay,
it is true that there's a giant white triangle on the flag.
Maybe that's for the white women.
There's no explanation for what the white triangle is.
It's for the Karen.
I mean, maybe
That's where the power of Karen is stored.
Let me look this up. But what are the colors? What do they mean? Okay, so let's see the Progress Pride flag. And I pulled it up on my phone for whatever reason. It said, what do the rainbow stripes mean? Red is life, orange is healing, yellow is sunlight, green is nature, blue is harmony, purple is spirit. Okay. What do the triangles mean? The light blue, light pink, and white section represent transgender.
Yeah.
The black and brown stripes represent marginalized communities of color. The black stripe represents those who have been lost to AIDS. Wait, what, really? That is, I feel like that's deeply racist. To
mean,
say that the black stripe for black people is the AIDS stripe is horrifyingly racist.
I think the brown stripe is for people of color, and the black stripe is for
no. Look, look. I don't know. This is KansasCity.com. This is looks like it's so annoying. Oh my, these websites are terrible. This is a Kansas City Star, and it says that the black stripe represents AIDS and black people.
Okay.
I'm not exaggerating. Let me pull this up. This is shocking to me.
I mean,
we can't give AIDS another color.
I feel like depending on where you go, they're gonna have a different definition for this flag, it's part of what Tim was saying. How it's like World of Warcraft. How it's all these random groups under one banner.
Look.
It's perfectly stupid.
This is the Kansas City Star, NewsGuard certified 92.5 out of 100, June 20th, 2022. What does it mean? I will scroll. This is exactly what I was reading. I can't believe they actually wrote this. It says the black and brown stripes represent people of color. And then it says the black stripe also represents people who've lost to AIDS. They're quite literally saying that the black stripe represents black people and AIDS victims in the same category. That is deeply racist.
What about the COVID stripe? There's no COVID stripe. Like, what about the other diseases that afflict many people?
Yes, but that obviously there is when it comes to pride, there is a question over AIDS and the epidemic and what happened in the 80s and Reagan and all that stuff. I can understand them wanting to include it, but I didn't know that they were making one stripe for black people and AIDS victims. I feel like that sounds deeply offensive.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they don't think about this kind of stuff. I really don't think they put a whole lot of thought into it. I think that it's like throwing stuff against the wall, throwing spaghetti against the wall, see what sticks.
Well, why did they even have to do a race, the black and brown, to begin with?
Are you serious?
Because they're marginalized. And so
have you turned on the television the past 10 years? Have you looked at a newspaper?
Do you think the average person who flies the flag would be able to tell you, like if you gave them a quiz, you gave them like a thing and like it's got a little box there, you have to mention like, can you point out what this one means, what this one means, what this one means? Do you think the average person would be able to tell you what any of those stripes mean?
Yeah, because they're teaching it in our school systems now.
It's like a little fill-in graph. It's like a coloring sheet. You have to fill it in and know what it means.
No, it's like that TikTok of the little boy who's with his mother, and he recites LGBTQIA like lightning fast. It's second nature to him now, like just like we recite the alphabet.
It is. Well,
he's able to do the acronym.
We even have to do on the shows like LGBTQI plus. Yeah. It's like you get done, you're like your brain just kind of goes numb and your eyes go wide, and you're just like because you had to say it so many times.
Wow, this is StonewallSociety.com says that the victory over AIDS flag is the black stripe. So like quite literally
It's crazy because when I was growing up, like in the 90s, they were very adamant that AIDS was not a LGBT disease. AIDS was something that everybody had to worry about. AIDS was something that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then now it's like, oh, well, this is a personal part of our story and our history. And it's like, were you joshing before? Like, why is it that like back, again, I mean, I think it's fairly common knowledge that that AIDS as a disease is mostly found in the gay community. It's rarely found outside.
I don't think mostly is the correct word. I think that in the United States it largely impacts the gay community, but I don't think it's true to say that it is mostly.
No,
mostly means it's very different from largely affecting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fair enough then, because I don't know particularly, but it does, speak to. It's certainly saying something when they're like, hey, this is something that impacts our community uniquely, which is what they're saying. As far as I can tell.
I gotta be honest. I am shocked to discover that they actually did that. But I'm not surprised to hear that they're racist. I mean, I firmly believe the Democrats are deeply racist, have always been racist, have never stopped being racist. And they always play this game of, but the parties switched. And I'm like, dude, I don't care about political parties. I don't know nothing about that. All I know is y'all are racist.
I mean, the political party that is largely focused on race and continues to make race a topic is probably the one you can safely say is racist. The one that says, hey, we don't want to focus on this stuff, etc., is probably not particularly racist. That just seems to be fair, obvious to me.
It's because you're trying to keep your power in office there by not talking about it.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, you Republican.
Oh, God.
All right, here we go. You guys ready for this one? From the National Review, Secret Service found marijuana twice at the White House in 2022. Okay.
I mean, does that bother?
Come on.
It's legal there, right? Well, not inside a federal building.
No, but at what point do we say, come on?
It depends on if it was edibles or if it was.
No. Just Phil. We know. I think we get it. All right, someone just needs to, Joe. Can you ask your son just maybe?
No,
if he's gonna smoke pot, if it's gonna be him, can he just clean it up and just not get caught doing it?
I really don't think that Hunter Biden is smoking much weed personally. I really think that it's amphetamines. I think that it's cocaine.
Maybe, but I mean, if he was getting off of that stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if he was like, well, this one's not so bad.
Sometimes
it's also funnier than maybe Joe's just not senile and old. Maybe he's just super stoned all the time. That's actually a way funnier story.
No, because if that was the case, then he would have actually descheduled it like he said he was going to do, instead of just waving it off and it never happened.
First thing he does in office is make it legal so that he can have it right there in the office.
I mean, the executive order is the way I would have rolled as president. Hunter, you're free, baby.
I think they're trying to plant it on Biden, and he just keeps leaving it in random places. Right? So they're like, we got to get him out. There's no chance in 24. So they keep getting all these different drugs, hoping that Secret Service will find it on him. But Biden's just not with it. So he just keeps leaving it places like outside the Situation Room. And they're like, we really don't know who it belongs to because it's Joe's.
Hunter gets it
for
him.
Coffee thing here, right? Maybe you get Joe your coffee and he'll wake up.
I just got to say, our coffee is the best coffee.
Well,
trust me, Appalachian Nights, the best coffee. Everyone agrees.
If Joe had that coffee right now, the country would be in a way better place.
Way better.
Way better.
Afghanistan would have been flawless.
Maybe that's the commercial we do. We have you see Joe Biden, but only from behind, and he's stumbling, and we show all the clips of him stumbling, falling, and then it's people in suits being like, quick, and they pull up a bag of cast brew coffee, and then you just see Biden stumble in, and there's a camera shaking, and he grabs the coffee, sips it, and then all of a sudden stands up right, and he's like, I'm ready, man.
Fixes him right
up.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I think you should.
Or we can do one where someone keeps Ian travels back in time and keeps pouring a glass of cast brew coffee for Joe right before these major moments, and then everything just goes right. It's preparing for the Afghan withdrawal, and then Ian's just pouring the cup of coffee, and he slides it out there, saving the world one cup of cast brew at a time.
Right before the debates.
In all seriousness, though, I don't really care for pot. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's very bad for people. I think a lot of people are like, it's no big deal. It should be legal and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm fairly libertarian on stuff. I don't care what you do with your life. But I think weed is pretty bad for you. I think to all the people I knew growing up, and, the ones that were smoking pot all the time did not do nearly as well as the ones who did not. And so, whatever. I think that's why you say, actually, South Park said it the best. Randy Marsh said, son, it's not that it's going to kill you or do anything to you. It's that it makes you okay with being bored. And then when you're older, you'll find you're not good at anything. So that's a reason why you shouldn't do it. It's like, oh, okay, thanks, Dad. But that being said, it is not legally allowed in the White House. And there is a drug problem in the White House right now. I have questions. We talk about a 2 or 3 tiered justice system. Come on, man. Come on.
There's at least 3 tiers. There's the broke and the not broke, right? And then you can talk about whether Trump's on a different level than Biden or whatever. But yeah, I'm not included in any of that, and I'm supposed to have white privilege, right? So they'll throw my ass in jail quick.
I think it's a major problem. It's one thing to do drugs and know about it in the White House. It's another thing to constantly leave them everywhere. They're not very good at.
I mean, Nixon didn't leave his shit all over the place.
Yeah.
At least clean up after yourself.
There's no cameras in the White House apparently either.
Yeah, right.
The Secret
Really?
Service said, "Oh, we couldn't figure out whose cocaine that was." So
I was surprised to hear that, considering all the cameras
wasn't.
I see in every federal building I've ever worked in.
I wasn't surprised to hear it. It's the Bidens. The Secret Service was like, "Ugh." Ben Shapiro pointed this out, that the Secret Service reportedly went to the gun shop where Hunter bought his gun and that was illegally disposed of and tried to collect records, seemingly to protect the Bidens from criminal prosecution.
Now, I got to tell you, as a libertarian, that's the most base thing I ever heard, right? Hunter being charged with marijuana and a gun charge.
Yeah.
Second Amendment, that's dope, right?
I got to say, I don't think Hunter Biden should be charged for owning a weapon. There's a fair argument through due process. You can have your rights curtailed. That's what prison literally is. And if you are found to be a drug user, and we've determined that to be like, hey, through due process, we've determined you do not have this right. I think there's questions about whether that should be laws or not. That because someone smoked pot one time, they can't have a gun anymore. I don't think that's fair. Because Hunter had done hard drugs, he's ineligible. Because someone was convicted of a felony, they get out, now they can't get a gun. Some people have argued, well, that's due process. And I'm like, it's got to be shorter than that. Your right to vote, your right to keep and bear arms. We shouldn't sentence you to life for it. That being said, Hunter shouldn't be charged, in my opinion, for just buying a gun.
Oh, for no reason.
But disposing of it in a trash can outside of a school, yeah, okay, maybe we got something there.
Well, he's obviously guilty of something if that's what you're doing. Because I don't throw guns in...
Well, but
you have guns,
it was his wife, I think. His wife did it.
Oh, okay.
So, right.
Did she do it or did she go and get it?
Did she go? No. It was a trash collector who found it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Hunter's wife. Was it? It might have been wife.
I don't know. Was he ever married? I know he was sleeping with his
Girlfriend?
brother's wife.
Oh God! When you start
That's such
talking,
a weird
about,
story.
it's just so gross. Like all
Yeah.
of the Hunter
Okay. It's
stories
lover.
are
They
gross.
say lover.
Oh,
it was
okay.
his. It was his brother's ex that he started hooking up with.
Haley or whatever her name is.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. It is. It's kind of weird though, because they have the same last name now because she married his brother. It's kind of a weird thing,
All the greatest stuff that when Hollywood ends up making movies about that family will be about Hunter and have nothing to do with Joe at all. All the great entertainment will come out of Hunter.
Can we do like
Joe's done nothing.
No.
He was perfect dad, apparently.
Can we do like a Game of Thrones show with the Bidens?
Yes.
Oh my God, it was beautiful.
It'd be compelling, like you got an episode where Hunter's just like coked out of his mind, and then it shows him like get up, and then he like straightens his jacket, and the bag falls on the ground, and then like some tourist walks by and sees it and goes, and then the Secret Service is like,
And then
It'd
it's
probably run like The Sopranos on HBO.
No, or they make it like House of Cards with Joe Biden, but it just all keeps happening by accident. Like nothing actually works out. It just people are picking up behind him.
it all keeps happening on accident and accidentally working out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like accidental House of Cards with Joe Biden.
Biden trips up the stairs and then like drops some item which bounces, and then like a marble bounces and then like hits a button causing a conveyor belt and
Saves the
just
world.
Like all these really weird things happen. He's sitting in the Situation Room and they're like, quick, we need a response right now, Mr. President. He falls asleep and then his face hits the keyboard and it sends the perfect message, or just it says yes and they're like yes, and then he averts the crisis, things like that.
And they can get Kevin Spacey to play him because he's a great guy too.
ew.
Yeah, no, he'd be perfect for Biden with all the sniffing, you know what I mean?
I think he's done more than sniffing.
Kevin Spacey's on trial right now in the UK
For more than
for very,
sniffing.
very bad things.
Very
I didn't know
bad.
He pulled his own version of the I'm not a pervert, I'm Italian. He had one where he's like, I'm a flirt with like he got
Innocent until
accused of
proven
horrible stuff.
Innocent until proven guilty, but I'm not giving the guy the benefit of the doubt.
No.
We'll see how it goes.
I'm a flirt.
Yeah.
Also a rapist.
Yes. he had where he's like, well, like after all the initial claims came out, he's like, look, I'm gay.
Yeah.
And we're like,
That fixes
what the hell
everything.
does that have to do with any of this?
Well, now it's probably a good defense. Had he come out with it now, like this month,
I mean, it should
people
have
would have said,
worked.
"Oh, okay, you're good." Right?
It should have worked even then.
He'll be like, "I'm Q."
Yeah.
I think maybe he'll work in these arguments where he's like, he can show pride events and the behaviors that people do that are considered normal and say, these things that I was doing were perfectly in line with what they all do all day, every day at these events. Nobody cares about it. Why am I all of a sudden being targeted for
We
it?
do live in hell.
Yes.
That might be an argument. He goes, I don't know. But I did hear that he was like crying or something.
Yeah.
Not sure that I care all that much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to throw the guy a safety net or anything. But I mean, I remember a time when I was snowboarding in Colorado, and if you pulled over on the side of the road to go to the bathroom and you got caught, you got a sex charge, right? You could get get on the sex registry. And now, I mean, if you're cute, you can just go piss all over the whole country and you can get away with it. It's just not. I don't see where all of a sudden everything is okay.
Yeah.
So I find it confusing.
It's because all the stuff, like, it's like when we were talking about the pride flag, everything is about being oppressed. All these groups, the one thing they have in common is they feel they're oppressed. And that's why it's these degenerate acts that we think of them as degenerate, but then it's like, we're not allowed to do them. We don't have their right. So we need to stand up for those people that don't have the rights to do all this gross behavior. And that's what we're seeing. And it's completely backwards, clown world, but
it definitely is. But what you point out about how there's so many people that have a perspective where they're basing everything on that they're the victim of something. That's something that's from the Marxist playbook. The whole point is power dynamics. The whole point is the person with power is oppressing the person without power. And all you have to be able to do is make a compelling argument that you feel oppressed, and everybody is expected to consent to your
lived experience,
worldview, to your lived experience, your worldview. And you can't have a society that works like that, because then the incentive is to be oppressed and to tell everybody about it. And we see the results in society. People are afraid to speak their mind. People are afraid to say things that they believe. People are afraid. And they're not afraid because they have outlandish ideas. They're afraid because the people with the outlandish ideas are also the ones that will make a stink and get people fired or bring you to the HR department or whatever. People that are unhappy with their lives. And it's all because of that, the teaching people to look at the world through the dynamic of oppressor and oppressed, and to understand, and teaching them that the position of oppressed is actually a position of power.
Yeah.
So, did you want to add a point to that?
I was just going to say Obama's campaign was, yes, we can. And it's like, no, we can't because of this group or because of this thing. And it's like 2008.
That's a fantastic plan for the next presidential campaign. No, we can.
No, you can't.
No, we can't.
So I wanted to go back to when someone super chatted us about AIDS in various populations, considering we're talking about the flag. So I looked it up, and 7.7% of global HIV is gay men. 7.7.
Oh, well, that's lower
substantially.
than I thought.
That was my point. I mean, I think in the U.S. maybe the numbers are different, but interestingly, and this is from the UN website, 10.3% among transgender persons. So it's higher. Interestingly, I could be reading this wrong. It could say that no. Right. I think that's right. Yeah, the higher prevalence in these groups to this percentage.
I mean, once you start to think about why trans people might be transmitting diseases like that, it's like wounds and stuff.
They mention people who are injecting things have a higher prevalence for it. So
drug use.
I wouldn't hormone injections.
No,
if the hormone.
Yeah.
I said heroin. Reusing needles and things like that may result in it. So
in the 80s, that was a big part of the
but I just looked it up, and so perhaps in the U.S. the numbers are different, but that's why I say I don't think mostly is the correct term, because it's actually, what we actually see with HIV is in many other countries, people of varying demographics and backgrounds, especially a lot of rape victims too.
Yeah.
So
learn something new every day.
Way to just bring up a sad subject, I suppose.
Get cheery.
Well, people die.
Let's wrap up this weekend with something silly. Politico. House GOP plans to hold long-teased UFO hearing. That's what it is about. Aliens, I think people deserve to know. Rep. Tim Burchett, who was leading the effort, told Politico. Great. Chuck Schumer is apparently on board or something. You know what I think every time I see these stories? What did Biden do this time?
Yeah, exactly. Heroin was found this time in the White House, and they need to make sure
in the Oval Office
that the aliens are because this happened the last time I was on. It was something about aliens. It was like, what the hell are they covering up?
They're gonna find so much drugs that like within 3 weeks they're literally staging an alien invasion, and like it's a video of Biden shaking hands with a gray alien, and they're like, is it working? Yeah.
Excuse me.
You good there?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you said
Yeah, I was going to, and then the cough made it slip my mind. You were talking about
aliens.
Yeah, okay. So I was listening to a space today. Musk was on talking about AI, the new AI company. And he was talking about the fact that he's like, look, man, I haven't seen anything. So all these people like that are government officials that are like, oh, looking at the stuff that the government said they got, man, all these people better know. But the dude that most regularly looks at actual video of space, probably in the top 10 people that look at video of space, he's like, I have seen absolutely no evidence. Like dead, none, zero, he says. Yeah. So I don't know what the Congress people think they saw or whatever, but I do find the guy that actually watches video of space all the time, I find his opinion compelling as opposed to friggin' Chuck Schumer.
I'd rather find out what the lady on the plane was actually looking at and the thing that wasn't real. I want to know what she was actually looking at. That's more interesting to me.
I want to know.
Figuring out what the government thinks about aliens.
Have they found her yet?
They have not. Everyone's talking about it, and some people were shaming us into caring. They're like, why do you care about this? I'm like, because it's the internet, because I'm allowed to care.
Well, my flight here, I was like, what should I share with everyone on the plane?
Yeah.
But no, my plane was the most boringest thing ever.
She had pretty privilege, too. Shane.
She was, and she was white. So
they haven't found her. We don't know. Maybe those are the aliens they're talking about that the government's talking about. They took her back. That's possible.
It's so funny that she was just like, he is not real.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. It's like they still haven't found that lady.
She disappeared like she went through.
How has no one figured out who the person was?
There was progress made today. So a friend of a friend of a friend is like, she's alive and well. She went on a cruise. That's why she was on the plane in the first place.
Drunk.
Don't Ambien and fly.
We're making progress. We're going to figure who this is in a day or two.
I want to know.
Do we know what happened?
She was talking to some dude and...
I watched the full video. All she said was like, that dude's not real.
It was Ambien. She had to have taken Ambien and flown.
She probably...
not a good idea.
More than likely.
But what does that mean, not real? Like, is that it? Like,
she was saying, like, he made some kind of remark, because I believe that I heard a TikTok of someone was saying, I'm the guy. So I don't know.
I think that was fake.
I didn't check it, but he was saying that like they were talking and I forget where he said he was going, but somehow the conversation went to like conspiracy theory type stuff. And because she seemed like she was loaded, she just started thinking that he was like a lizard person or something. So I don't know the details. I'm only relating what I've heard.
The best was the one where it says it's the graphic of her pointing and says that MF over there is not real, and then it points over there and it's a picture of Mark Zuckerberg.
Right.
Looking rather reptilian himself in the photo.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of these UFO stories, to be completely honest.
Well, it's because nobody buys them anymore. At this point, if aliens came down, nobody would care. They'd be like,
yeah, right.
I'd like to get on board after this. I can't do another Biden administration.
Yeah, and not to mention, like with the technology we're seeing now with AI, like nothing you watch on the internet feels real anymore anyways. Unless you actually saw it for yourself in person, would you actually believe that what you were looking at was real?
Have you guys seen the new Beavis and Butthead?
No.
I'm going to spoil it. Spoilers, because it's relevant. You've been warned. So I think it's the last episode of the new season that came out. It's a recurring theme in the new one is Smart Beavis and Smart Butthead. And they're from a parallel reality where everyone's super intelligent. And so they are super intelligent, but still stupid. And so they're instructed to go to Earth Prime or whatever and kidnap someone for experimentation. They land in this UFO kind of thing, and then they convince that Nabe or whatever his name is, and he's just completely like, oh, wow, look at that. And he walks into the UFO, just completely oblivious. I kind of feel like that's what I imagine when you're like, at this point of an alien ship landed, people are like, oh, yeah, really? Sure. And
nobody would buy it.
There would be YouTubers like Jake Paul was 10 years ago, knocking each other out to try and get inside to get the first clips of inside the alien spaceship.
It's actually kind of crazy to think about. If a spaceship landed in our parking lot right now and aliens walked out and we filmed it, nobody would believe it.
No, they wouldn't.
We would literally post the video. I would live stream and I would be like, guys, this is like, I'm streaming. And they'd be like, yeah, okay, nice try, dude. Special effects, green screen. It's a fake live stream. It was preloaded, pre-recorded, pre-rendered. Nobody would believe it.
No, they wouldn't. Blame the Blair Witch Project when that came out.
So what
Found
if
footage.
the aliens?
That just came, like, I saw posts about that today. Like, that was like 24
24
years
Yeah.
ago today now.
Yeah,
What a
we're
terrible
right.
movie.
We're right out in that area, right? So
Yep.
it happened over
So
here.
the aliens specifically seeded CGI technology to us so that we would have no way to warn anybody about what was happening.
So no one, it's like the ultimate boy that cried
Yeah,
wolf.
that's right.
Give them the means to fake everything. They'll fake everything, and then when we invade, no one's gonna buy it.
The best-
Brilliant plan.
The best film director will get them to work with him on set so that he doesn't actually have to use the CGI budget to make the movie. I'm down for that too.
Probably too.
Yeah. Are there any of the alien stories that you find more compelling than others?
No, it's all lies and stupid nonsense,
but-
and I'm insulted that they even bring it up. So.
But it is one of those things now because you live in a 24-hour news cycle that never ends. And if you are acutely aware of what's going on in the media, you look at all of it as some type of distraction. Like, what is this taking me away from? Why are you pointing over here when I should be looking over there?
Let's do this. Let's say, has anybody ever? How come no one talks about the hole in the center of the
ozone?
North Pole?
Hollow Earth? Oh, not Hollow Earth.
I mean, look. Why is the UFO and aliens the choice of conspiracy? How about we talk about, I don't know, dinosaurs, super evolved, smart cave dinosaurs?
Because television in the X-Files made it more palatable in the 90s, and it captured the public interest then, so it's the most easy to digest.
Yeah, but every once in a while you'll get Atlantis talk and some Wee Was Kang stuff, like
But it doesn't catch on in the same way.
No, it doesn't have the same impact because
No.
I think that space is probably something that everybody is feels like they kind of have a connection with because everyone, or at least people that don't live in cities, look up and they see
Yeah.
stars and stuff like that, and most people can see the moon. So it's like I feel like it's compelling to people, whereas like Atlantis is like you got to be really down deep into
Plus,
it.
we just had that whole Ocean Gate thing. Nobody wants to go down to the bottom of the ocean anymore. Not for a while.
Oh, that's
We were
what happens
watching,
down there. There ain't no people down there.
We were watching somebody downstairs was watching some flat Earth video, and I just groan listening to flat Earth people because it's like this guy going like, I don't have any definitive statements. I just have theories. Round Earth is a theory, and flat Earth is a theory. And it's like, you can't prove it. And I'm just like, oh.
They actually, let me tell you, they really have come far on the whole proving it part.
But my favorite is when they go, how come no one's allowed to go to Antarctica? And I'm like, I know people who've gone there. You can buy tickets. It's where did this? And they go, how come you can't fly over the North Pole? I'm like, dude, I literally did when I flew from New York to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I don't understand where they just make this stuff up. It's infuriating. And then they all just keep repeating it. Like nobody, like, I love this video where this guy does this thing where he's like, I'm going to prove that the Earth is flat or whatever. And he's like, if the Earth is round, then if you take two boards and cut holes in them and then shine a light through it, the camera should be able to pick up the light. If it's round, you won't be able to because of the curvature of the Earth. You have to raise the camera up. And if it's flat, it should be perfectly even. And sure enough, he's like, wait a minute. Wait, hold on there a minute. Like, what's happening? I can't see the light. And it's like, raise it up. And he does. And he sees the light. He's like, oh. Accidentally confirming the experiments about proving the Earth is round. But the crazy thing to me is that people say insane things like you can't go to Antarctica because they're like, it's the firmament, it's the boundary that surrounds the disk Earth or whatever. And I'm like, dude, you can literally go to Antarctica. It's expensive. There's nothing there. And so the average thing people do is they you get a ticket on a cargo ship.
They know that Metallica played there, right? That actually happened. Metallica is the only band that is played on all
They
seven
think it's a
continents.
conspiracy. They think it's a conspiracy. That you can buy a ticket as a regular tourist, and that you get a few hours on Antarctica because what else are you going to do? Going to go die? But there are people with more money and means that prepare expeditions and literally just go and explore Antarctica. People will say a thing, and then everyone just says it's true. I believe it, and they just go along with it.
I've heard that the reason that they don't have flights that go over the South Pole is because that part of the Earth is very remote. Like if you go over the North Pole, you're over Canada. There's all kinds of cities all in the vicinity, but like the South Pole, it's really remote. So they're just like have them go.
So is the idea
There's no reason to. Look, the reason you'd fly over the North Pole is because going from New York to Hong Kong, it is faster to go straight, point to point. The idea would be that you'd fly all the way over Russia or all the way over the Pacific to try and get to Hong Kong. It makes no sense. You just go whoop right over because it's a sphere. That makes sense. The South Pole makes no sense because what are you going to do? Fly from Chile and then loop around and go to like Australia? That makes no sense.
The distances are far down there. Most of the population lives in the global north. You know, Asia and North America. Like there's Africa and South America, but like most of the population on Earth is above the equator. You know.
We're going to go to Super Chats. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and become a member at timcast.com to support our work directly. And we will read these. We do members-only shows Monday through Thursday, nothing today. And just a quick reminder, we will have a guest host all next week, Seamus of Freedom Tunes. Grateful that he is able to do it because... Gotta go to the doctor. But here's Raymond G. Stanley Jr. in the Super Chat saying, Tim, sir, my guy. Yesterday, holy moly, what a feel-good moment that was watching the Super Chats roll in. Everyone deserves a shout-out. The viewers, the staff, the cast, yourself, forward the line. So basically what happens is at the end of the show, I'm like, someone said, give the Super Chats to Tim Ballard. I said, okay. And then we start seeing, $10, $20 come in. And I'm like, you know what? That makes no sense. Like, I'll just double it. And then within a few minutes... the couple grand I thought I was going to be writing a check for turned into $24,000. And I was like, well, here we go. Wow, I didn't expect that, but it was really, really incredible to see everybody pitch in. And if you guys can, I can. I really do appreciate your support. And I think it's cool that together we did this for Tim Ballard's new organization, which he just launched. So hopefully this $50,000 check will be a huge kick in the butt for the start of his organization to get it going quickly.
I also saw something earlier that somebody said that the organization website he was listing was like he was saying the Spear, like he was saying it wrong.
The Spear Fund.
Somebody bought it and then said, how can we give this to him to make sure that the one that he was mentioning on the show was the one that actually redirected to the actual website. So that's an even better, it's another great example of everybody coming together.
Spearfund.org redirects to his sites coming soon. He just announced it, but I hope that together we each were able to put up $25K, you, the audience, and me. And I got to be honest, the money from me is basically still money from you guys as viewers and as members. So I'm grateful to be able to help him get that going. Because, man, yesterday was something else. What an amazing conversation. Let's grab some more Super Chats. What do we have here? Rofty says, agreed, Raymond Stanley Jr. YouTube is blocking the gentle agreement I want to share with everyone, like a reminder of the link to the site for free tickets. Oh, you can't link it. It's, what was it's angel. What is it, angel.com? What's the pay it forward link?
I'm not sure.
Angel Studios?
Angel.com/pay-it-forward. But I think you just go to angel.com. You should be able to find it. It's probably easier to find it that way. So not only did we do 50K, I bought 750 theater tickets at $11,500 so that more people can go see this film. I want to win this culture war, man. I want to build a parallel economy. I want to see these studios succeed. I want to see new movies come out, and I want to help save kids.
It's a fantastic
win-win-win-win.
It's a fantastic example. Like if you're looking for a white pill for how things are coming, I went to see the movie. Theater was packed. Everybody that we've talked to on our podcast, everyone that's super chatted talking about the movie has said that when they've gone to the theater was packed for them as well. So that is a fantastic sign.
Someone was saying that Jewel was talking about the movie.
She was. Yeah.
Awesome. She
knows the people, like she knew the producers and she knew people involved with the production of the movie.
She's on Concord, which is my previous label, the label that I was on before we.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So.
Should hit her up, have her come out. That'd be really cool.
I actually was. That's why I found out that she's on Concord. I hit her.
Oh, right on.
Like, yo, who's her management? I'm gonna see if I can reach out.
That'd be really cool.
I'll try.
She has a bunch of those big 90s hits, right? Like Who Will Save Your Soul?
Great song.
Yeah.
And like she's been working consistently. So as much as like what happens in the music industry, a lot of times people come out and they'll have whatever puts them on the map that gives them heat, and then kind of like people get used to them. They build their fan base, and like the people that are just like into the one song kind of will go back to doing their thing or finding other stuff. But they have but she really built a fan base that's really kept her relevant for a long time. She's been working for ages. So.
That'd be cool to talk to her about it. Seth Essington says, why does Brett never wear his glasses on IRL?
The lights.
Too bright?
Too bright in here.
Both the glasses and the beard.
And it's like it's the end of the day, and I'm just yep.
Eric Miller says, Tim, next week, why don't you call in through Discord so you can still be part of the conversation? Perhaps what I can do is just hang out in the Discord. But the reality is I'm going to be literally in a hospital all week. So here's the gist of it. I have probably a labrum hip tear, cartilage damage, which reduces mobility and range of motion and causes pain when I'm extending my leg. And so if I were to pursue your typical course of treatment, what I was told by the local hospitals was, we can consult you in 2 weeks. Okay, well, I can't skate. So like, what do I do? I can't exercise. Like, that's no good. We're currently working on building the new facility, which includes skating and exercise, and I want to be able to do it. After the consultation, we'll perhaps schedule in a few days, over the weekend, of course, so it could be 4 or 5 days, an MRI. Okay. And then from there, we'll plan out in the next couple of months a procedure for which we can start to repair. I'm like, okay, you know what, man? So there is a facility that is out of state. It's one of the highest rated like sports injury clinics, and they're like, we do it all in a week. You come in, all the diagnostic work, then we prepare, then we Wednesday we plan the treatment, and then you should be done with everything by Friday. The reality with the labrum tear treatments, they do PRP and stem cells. That's platelet-rich plasma, but they can also do surgical repairs. These only take like an hour, but you have to go through like paperwork, MRI, diagnosis. So I'm like, this one place will do it all right away, done. But it means I'm basically in the hospital going through the whole process. That's it. So there's no morning show. I can't do IRL, but it beats randomly taking off 1 or 2 nights every week to go through this and then not being able to skate or exercise for 6-7 months because then the recovery process, because they're saying recovery for it could be like a month to 2 months. And I will also add this, it's so annoying because like I can run up and down the stairs, I can jump, I can basically do literally everything except kickflip. I can't do it. Like anything that requires a ninja kick of my left leg, it's just like there's no strength.
Yeah.
And so the general, what I'm generally told by the doctors is, if you don't take care of it now and you keep going, hip replacement later.
I just got my shoulder replaced. It sucked.
Right. So they're like, we can do something that's minimally invasive. It's going to take a week of your time. It's done in an hour, takes you a month, and then you're good. Or you can ignore it, be in pain, not exercise, and then in a few years or so have to deal with a real serious invasive surgery. So it's just like, let's just do it. Let's just get it over with. I'm an old man, so it has to be done.
And with less exercise in the meantime, it actually makes the problem worse the longer it goes.
Exactly.
That's what, I'm still having like reoccurring knee issues. That's one of those things, like when I was skating every single day, I just built up enough strength that I was able to get through it without having too many problems. But since then, like even now, if I'm skating just 3-4 times a week, I notice it way more. It's not like I'm working manual labor. So it's like if I go out and try and skate at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. when I'm done with work, I feel as if I've been, it feels as if I've been on my feet the whole day, when that's not necessarily the case, because I'm not building up the strength from skating every single day.
Yeah. So anyway, that means I'm out. And I hate doing it. It would be like there's only one other time that an injury ended up resulting in me not being able to work, and it was I got a root canal. No, I got a crown put on. I had a root canal a long time ago, and I had to get it fixed, and that was 3 days of like. I
think I still remember that. That was before that was like 2018 or something. I still remember the post about it because I was watching the show at the time.
And it's just like
segments.
I hate that I was sick a week ago, and now it's like this thing happens. And I'm just like, as my body begins to fall apart and I age and wither away, that's just the reality of it, right? All right. 37.
Oh, my God. you talk like you're 51.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm mostly kidding. And it's because, like, outside of the hip thing, I don't notice anything about being 37 when I skate, except my hip started to hurt. And I'm like, there it is. That's literally just it. Knees are fine, jump strength, everything seems to be fine, actually doing new tricks, better tricks. And then, after 23 or so years of skating, you get some damage in your cartilage, it's not healing, and now you go to the hospital. All right, the KL Tanker says, Seamus should not get a coffee blend. It should be hot chocolate with Lucky Charms marshmallows.
Perfect.
Actually, we had a really good idea for Seamus's blend, but I don't want to say anything just yet. Of course, that'll actually take some time, but the new ones are almost ready. The Mr. Boca's Pumpkin Spice Experience and the K-Cups should be available very, very soon. So, all right. Vash says, This is literally MSM saying Trump called neo-Nazis very fine people. I stand on principle. F Pence and F fake news voting Vivek. You know, the issue is what I get out of what Mike Pence said when he was like, that's not my concern. I think it's fair to say he was trying to say Ukraine was not my concern, but then he literally says, why can't it be our concern?
Yeah.
He says, if you think it can't be one of the issues we care about, then you're mistaken. So where are we at with it? Halfway. He didn't say screw American cities. He didn't say all for Ukraine and nothing else. Slava Ukrainia. He said, no, look, Ukraine isn't my concern. America isn't, and doing right by America. But we can be leaders of the free world too. And I'm like, so the truth is closer to the middle.
Yeah.
Some people may say, I don't care about Ukraine. Put all your focus. Don't waste time. And his argument is, we can do both. We can help Ukraine and help America.
This
I'm
government,
kind of like, I don't know about that, dude.
The government here continually proves that they cannot do both. They can rarely do one.
Andrew,
just my biggest problem with the whole Ukraine thing, it's like I said to a friend today, regardless of what the details are about the new issue, I still don't see the off ramp. I don't see what gets us out of the confrontation with Russia yet. And until I do, I'm just.
Well, we're just shipping over more weapons of mass destruction. I mean, stuff that have been banned.
Cluster munitions. And it's going to escalate. Because they had criticized Russia for doing the same thing. Now the U.S. and the West is doing it. Yeah. Now reserve troops being sent to Europe. Come on.
You see both the Russians and Ukrainian soldiers don't want to be fighting this war.
You know what I'm looking forward to? I just want you to imagine this. So you're sitting on the sidewalk, sitting up against a brick wall that is nothing but rubble, and the power lines have crashed down. The sky is orange, and there's just buildings collapsed everywhere, and you're covered in dirt, and you're shaking. And then you see, this is the best part, a liberal walks by, and you get to go, I told you so. It'll be so worth it, won't it?
I was telling someone at the castle that, like, when we had all that smoke from the Canadian wildfires, I'm like, if we had like a nuclear war, this is how it would be every day. So, if we survived the blast, it would just be this haze. We can't breathe. It'd be terrible. It'd be awful.
Andrew Rowland says, if we elect Vivek, we Republicans get bragging rights to elect the first Native American president, thus ticking off the left, since they are obsessed with the first this and that. Isn't Vivek Indian?
Yeah, I think so.
But not Native American.
No. Yeah, I think he's Indian country.
That's right.
They'll just say the party switch later, and then they'll take credit for it. It won't matter.
Yeah. What do we have here in the old super chat box? Ryan Ellis says, politicians will use our tax dollars to supply guns and ammo to foreigners. They will also use our tax dollars to pass legislation that bans Americans from owning guns and ammo. The same guns they say are evil and have no place in society.
Weapons of war.
Yep.
Yes.
We've armed every enemy we've ever had.
Here's a question for you. Andrew Reinheimer says, question for Shannon, how are your positions better than Mark Robinson?
Oh, that's in North Carolina. It kind of depends on what we're talking about, whether it's the education, the economy, or even the social issues. Mark Robinson is fairly authoritarian, very hard to the right. There's some things that we agree on, like the abolishment of Obamacare and trying to help some of the health care. But I have some differences on the abortion aspects, to where I too would like to see a 12 to 16 week abortion ban after, but with the exception of medical conditions that are there to save the mom's life and the baby's life, where he's more negative on a lot of those aspects. So, and he's a very hard right Republican. A lot of people are having a hard time stomaching a lot of his policies. But then one of my goals is to go after taxes and reduce the size of the government in North Carolina, which is going after the Department of Education, or not just education, but our education system there is horrendous. I mean, we get the North Carolina Education Lottery, which is really the only money that's going to our education system. Yet we're 50th in the country.
What state has the best education system in the country right now? Does anybody know? Like,
No idea.
It's like who? Like if you were to model your education department after one, what would you be looking to do for it?
That's actually an excellent question. I probably need to look at who's number one.
Florida?
Yeah.
Not in terms of like outside of the academic approach, but in terms of the parental rights and cultural approach.
Yeah.
Ron DeSantis did a pretty good job.
I'm a big fan of the whole school choice and the parents being involved. And in North Carolina, we don't really have that. We're last, but yet the government is just it's horrendous in education. Yeah. So I moved away from Louisiana because they had the worst education system when I was growing up, and I moved to North Carolina, and now we're the worst. So
just followed you.
It just followed me around.
All right, we'll grab this one. Chuck Taylor says, for Phil, what was it like working with Shannon Lucas? He's my all-time favorite. Love All That Remains. Saw you guys at HOB Cleveland in 2007, but not since.
Oh, wow. It's sick. Well, Shannon's great. At the time, we were both really young, and so we could only kind of make it work for one record. But we've since talked, and I'm hoping that Shannon will do something for All That Remains in the future. Not like recording or anything, but we talked about getting him to do some drum playthroughs of stuff that he did on the fall of Ideals, and hopefully we can get him to do that. So keep your eyes out. Cheers.
All right, JR says libertarians tend to suffer the no true Scotsman fallacy a lot.
Yeah.
Yep. Bruno Bronowski says, Tim, why aren't you posting videos to Twitter yet? Stop being a bonus hole. I love you, brother. and he super chatted that 4 times. I think that might have been an accident. We actually are discussing that. The challenge is, I'm not sure a 20-minute segment would do as well on Twitter as it does on YouTube, because YouTube is a platform where you open the player and then work and listen. Twitter is you're scrolling through. There is the potential now. I mean, Elon is doing an amazing job. Mad props. The picture-in-picture for videos is brilliant. That does open the door. I think what we're looking at right now is uploading short clips, but typically about a minute long, and then, linking to a longer form thing or something like that. I think for what Twitter is, shorter form video would do really well to ignite conversation and generate replies. Because if I put up a 20-minute video on Twitter, someone's 10 minutes through, and then they say, oh, I'm going to comment on that. And then they reply, yeah, you said Trump did this, and he did that. That's what I think. Someone else is going to see that comment and be like, I didn't hear that part. Like, where in the video is that part, right? Because Twitter is very different. Yeah. But, to be completely honest, it's about experimenting. And I think one of the things we're looking at is potentially simulcasting to Twitter. Mainly because, I'll say I know this, the majority of people who follow me on Twitter do not watch this show live. They'll watch clips or something like that. And that if we did put up our show live 8 p.m. on Twitter, I think we'd end up getting like 10 to 20 million more views than we already do. And so I think probably by the time I'm back, I'm hoping that we figure out how we can do that effectively. And the monetization is a huge element of it.
Tucker's doing pretty good on Twitter, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's been getting he got 70, 100 million views or whatever.
First one, yeah.
And Elon says, how many impressions do you generate is how much you get paid. The reality is Tucker's generating a lot of ad impressions when he's getting 50 million views on a video. So I genuinely think it's hard to know for sure exactly what would happen if we went live on Twitter. I know a lot of people who follow me on Twitter do not watch live on YouTube. I know a lot of people really don't like YouTube, don't want to be here, but they are on Twitter because they got unbanned. And so I wonder. I mean, I've seen a lot of people do live streams on Twitter to very little success. Yeah. I wonder if we would have the same degree of success. But to be fair, I also have 1.7 million followers on Twitter. So maybe we would end up getting a million or so hits. And that's really enough. I mean, to be completely honest. So we'll see. I think one thing that Elon needs to do is he needs a grid format for videos. And when it comes to live, you need real-time comments, not just thread comments.
So chat, like a similar to the chat function.
Yep. Yeah. And I hope it gets there. But either way, we're interested in trying to multicast, simulcast.
I wonder if you tweet while you're watching a video, if they could just put a timestamp in the tweet.
Yeah.
Just a reference where you said in the video.
But real-time chat matters.
Yeah.
You know, like when you rewatch these shows, you can see the real-time chat. So, because someone's comment goes along with right where the video is, and like you can see that happen. That's an interaction that matters.
Like when we do live, like I'll interact actually like pretty extensively with people in the chat as well, not just like the super chats, but like if somebody makes a reference point, or I'll ask the chat for like verify on this right here. So if you're watching back and if you're watching the playthrough, that won't make sense unless you also follow the live chat replay along. So
Right on.
is it possible, like, do you have a hard time seeing the way that like YouTube Shorts, does that transition more to viewership in a way?
I think YouTube Shorts drive subscribers.
Yeah.
And younger people tend to use them. But it's crazy. The amount of views we're getting on Shorts is ridiculous.
But it's
not worth any money, though.
No, it makes very, very little in the way of money. But a lot of it
but
is
if it's
like
advertising, you know.
and it gets people that might not normally engage with the content, because if people are watching are used to more long form content, especially like this show or our show is a 2-hour podcast every day, that's very different than somebody who's literally going and scrolling and looking for YouTube Shorts. So sometimes it's kind of interesting. You'll get people that are more that disagree with you more because they're looking for different content and they're not in the same sphere of influence. So you get a lot of people that end up pushing back on the stuff you say, which is awesome.
All right, let's grab a super chat. Atherin Zala says, Tim, here's how you prove the world is round. If it was flat, cats would have knocked everything off the edge already.
Fair.
That's true. Actually.
Compelling.
You know? I was reading about this and I was reading this post from a flat earther who said gravity's not real. What actually is happening is that the Earth is accelerating infinitely upwards, which creates...
Every time a turtle appears underneath, which is constantly happening, that's pushing the Earth up because it's turtles all the way
no,
around.
it's just, you know, the image was, it's not flat. It's more of like a disc with like rocks underneath it, like hanging. Okay. And then...
Rushing through space.
And it's rushing through space, exponentially increasing in speed, which simulates gravity, because if it was going the same speed, you would not experience gravity. You'd be in, you know, like stasis with the planet, so it has to be going faster. I'm just like, dude, or gravity like is real. I don't know, man. It's not.
Yeah, they wasted their brain cells on that theory.
You know, but they try. Justice Skeptic says, the best thing you said tonight, Tim, was about the potheads. It's true. I'll have to go back and play it later from a pothead. Well, right on. You know, I don't think people shouldn't be allowed to, but I just think it is. It is not good. Solon Woodall says, the smell of cast brew coffee is one of the world's greatest inventions.
Oh.
Indeed. I'm going to say it again, because every morning when I've been having Appalachian nights, I just can't wrap my head around. I'm like, how does this so good? We got a bunch of beans. We tried mixing different kinds. I wanted a little darker roast, and like we hit this blend that was so good. I'm not kidding. I love that stuff. I could just like drink like a gallon of it in the morning. We will grab some super chats here. We got Sideways saying, man, I think Ian might have been right about Ron and Vivek switching spots. I don't always agree with him, but he rolled a 20 on that one for sure. Yeah, I think maybe in a couple weeks, a couple months, Vivek's going to be number 2. He's hitting it out of the park. You know, and unfortunately for Ron, I think the issue is he's got great policy, but the hatred towards him comes from a perceived disloyalty. That he went against Trump, that he was saying he's not going to run, and then all of a sudden it was like all in the cards the whole time. I think people are pissed about that. But also it's probably that, to a certain degree, nobody really thinks Vivek is going to win, right?
No,
but what if Trump actually gets indicted for something? Right, and then you lose that power base. Then all of a sudden you have an election in turmoil.
He's already been indicted.
But, well, I mean, actually
convicted.
Convicted.
Yeah, that would be absolute chaos. God's Other Son says, I've had hip issues for almost 30 years. They eventually recruited my knees in their war against me. Get better soon. Yeah, my knees seem to be pretty good. I should, by all accounts, have legs that shake, and I can barely stand because I've been skating for 23 years. Sprained and rolled my ankle on dozens upon dozens of times. My knees should be, they make a disgusting sound when I bend them because, you know, of just what I've been doing my whole life. But no issues whatsoever there. You know, like I'm skating, and for the skate nerds out there, we went out to film, and I was like, I'm going to do a nollie flip nose slide on the ledge, which is, you know, I guess it's a decently good trick, and I lock it in first try and slip out. And what I encountered when we were filming is that I can't extend my left leg enough when I pop the board, and it's causing me problems and pain. And I thought it would just go away. I'm like, I must have strained it or something. It did not. It got worse. And so I reached out to some pro athletes, and I was just like, what do you think? And they were like, oh, bro, dude, whoa, no, I know this. I've heard this story before. You need to call a doctor. And I was like, okay. And then they were just like, 20, 30 years ago, you know what they'd say to you? They'd say, well, life sucks. Take some ibuprofen and good luck. But now we've got all these treatments, and they're like, no, get it in now. We'll take care of it. You'll be good as new. That's the reality of the world, man. I gotta go. And it won't be the first time. It won't be it actually is the first time, actually. I guess if you count the crown I got. But it won't be the last time. I'm only getting older. Nothing you can do about it. It'll happen. And say la vie. But I do think the important component here is all of you have been begging that we get reserve hosts, backup hosts, and other co-hosts who can take over the show and host it in events. I'm incapacitated, so the show doesn't just cease to exist. And in fact, that's actually why Phil's here, and potentially in the future, Phil will be doing the same thing Seamus is doing. While we have Seamus, Seamus can handle it, but even Phil at some point. And then it's got to be more than just me in the long run. So we've got morning show plans, a View-like show. Studio is at I think maybe 70% completion. Construction still underway. Some hiccups along the way, but it's common. It just takes a really long time to build this all. And then once the new facility's up, we're going to be doing a morning show to compete with The View with sane women. It's going to be very fun.
I'm excited about that, especially considering the ladies that you've been talking about having on there. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's people everyone knows and loves. People we've had on the show before that are moms that have a moderate to reasonable view of varying dispositions, conservative, liberal, libertarian.
I say this with deep love for all of them. They're all big mouths. It's going to be hilarious.
I would have loved
hilarious.
A Phil in the morning show where you just yell at everyone in the morning.
I probably can do that, but I would rather
wake you up.
I would rather hear the ladies because they're going to be. I'm telling you, it's going to be great.
But we're doing as much as we can. So we'll grab one more super chat here. What do we have? What's a good one? Oh, Liddy says, Tim, you should all shroom for one video during the day and in the wilderness. Ian was right. It's great. Well, I always tell people to consult their doctors. Mm-hmm. There has been a tremendous breakthrough in research pertaining to PTSD and trauma and psilocybin and things like that. But that's for a doctor to decide. And it is fair to say, I believe recreational, it's legal in some states. So make sure you're always abiding by the law and talk to a medical professional about what's right for you. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. We may be posting clips from the show on that Twitter account. I think it's extremely likely within the next week or so. And smash the like button, subscribe to this channel. I am out all next week, but Seamus has you. We have a bunch of really, really great guests. This is really abrupt, and it was an opportunity to just try and get this hip thing done right away. So I really do appreciate everybody. As members at timcast.com, you've afforded me the ability to take a sick day, something I had not experienced for a very long time. If I didn't work, I didn't make money, but you guys as members have given me that gift. I really do appreciate it. Shannon, do you want to shout anything out?
Oh yeah, I mean, thanks for having me. And if anyone wants to read any policies or whatever, you can find out on shannonbray.us. Or really to kind of discuss anything. I'm fairly active on social media, so Shannon Bray NC on Twitter, and I'm happy to chat.
Right on. Thanks for coming.
I am Phil Labonte. I am Phil That Remains on Twitter. I am Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. We're available on Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, the old YouTube. Next week I'm going to be in LA doing drums for some upcoming releases that we have planned, and if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see some updates for that.
Guys, my name is Brett Dasovic. It's at Brett Dasovic on Twitter and on Instagram. Pop Culture Crisis is Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. You should come join us. It's a lot of fun.
And I am Kellen. You guys can follow me at Kellen PDL. I press the buttons on Fridays, and it was a great show. It was a lot of fun. So thanks, guys.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Also, I recommend checking out the Culture War episode from this morning at youtube.com/Timcast, debating the issue of is drag appropriate for children? And I just want to address something for a lot of people. It's a mixed bag of comments. Some people are like, Tim, wow, you did a really great job letting this person speak and share all their ideas. We need to know what they're thinking. And other people being like, Tim, why didn't you push back and yell? The Culture War show has had its moments of me arguing with people, but we're really trying to have other people express their ideas and have that conversation. So what I'm hoping with the show is to get people to explain their ideas so that you can hear them and then ask them questions and explore in a somewhat Socratic method what they're really thinking. And it does lead to contradictions. Some episodes will be better than others, but we're really trying to make sure that it's not just me arguing with someone. It is two people of different ideas discussing it. And so that was the plan. That being said, I will wrap it up here. Thank you all so much for hanging out, and you'll see Seamus next week.